everyone, and welcome to Cinematic Schematic, the official podcast of thecinematropolis.com, your home to thoughtful conversations on film. I'm your host, Caleb Masters, and today I'm getting attacked by facehuggers, ducking left and right, and trying really hard not to let Broccoli's acid blood splatter all over my face. That's right, we're reviewing Alien Romulus. We're going to start with an icebreaker question before we jump into a spoiler-free review of the movie, where we'll provide a verdict, and then we'll conclude the conversation going into an in-depth spoiler discussion. I'm going to turn to my bishop from Aliens. He's definitely not going to die in this podcast. He's my co-host, an award-winning Oklahoma filmmaker, Laron Chapman. Laron, thank you and your top side of your torso for joining me today.
Just the top? No. Thank you for having me.
Laron, do you like acid blood? Is that like a thing you're into?
I drank a lot of it this weekend in honor of the movie we're watching. So, or at least, which is really just tequila and what was the other mixer?
It was tequila. One of them was tequila and one of them was mezcal.
Mezcal. Okay, yes. I just had the one that we had it.
Oh, I did both.
Yes.
It was very weird. Everyone decided that apparently the themed cocktail at all the theaters was going to be tequila or mezcal based. So there you go. Also very excited to be joined by, he's the birthday boy. That's not ominous setup for a death if I've ever seen one. He's a contributor here at the Cinematropolis and Flick Attack, regular guest host, Daniel Bokemper. Daniel, happy birthday and welcome to the show.
Yeah, I'm so happy I was able to make it because like the fucking facehugger that attached to me didn't let go until like 20 minutes ago.
Shit.
So needy.
So I know.
So
Normally,
by
like,
the end
well,
of
it's
the
because like
podcast,
some movies, they only cling for 20 minutes and then they're gone. And then the chest burster's out in another 10. And it's like, that's efficient.
I got to dip out after the icebreaker question.
Yeah, icebreaker question is going to be it, guys. That's been it for the show, ladies and gentlemen. I want to die.
Leave Daniel in here.
Yeah.
Oh,
I just have minor tummy grumbles. They're not gonna. It's not gonna. It doesn't mean anything.
Minor tummy grumbles. I see that. It's not the cake. Well, I'm also very excited. He's a very brave soul for joining this crew. It's been, frankly, way too long. He's the Curbside Chronicle editor, concert photographer, and I like to refer to him, or his internet persona likes to refer to him as Oklahoma's favorite son, Nathan Poppe. Nathan, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me. It's been what, like at least
a year and a half. It's been a year. I think we did a double feature on Cocaine Bear and Creed 3. The world has changed since then.
Oh man,
what a double! Oh, cowabunga! Yeah, who played the villain in Creed 3? Who ended up being a real villain?
Jonathan
Majors.
I had an observation that he was going to be the next big thing in that podcast episode. If you could erase that, because I am starting to second guess myself on that.
Yeah.
But I am glad to be back, and I will only say really safe takes on this episode, so as not to,
never be. So, what are your thoughts on Kang and Robert Downey Jr. replacing Kang, Nathan? No.
I love it and hate it.
Well, hey, man, it's been way too long. Thanks for carving out some time to join us for this Alien theme podcast.
Of course.
And last, but certainly not least, he did threaten me with some acid blood spill, but I invited him anyway. He's the Brockness monster of art direction, Brock Lay. Brock, welcome back.
Only way I can get on the podcast is to threaten Caleb. And if Laron is Bishop, I guess that makes me Johnner from Alien Resurrection, which is Ron Perlman's character.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
That tracks.
Yeah. Hit a backwards basketball shot a time or two.
Oh, man. Ron Perlman's so good in that movie. Speaking of dudes, speaking of people whose takes have aged poorly, Joss Whedon co-wrote that script. Oh, shoot. Well, that's been a fun podcast. Well, hey, listeners, if you've enjoyed this little preamble or any of our podcast discussions, or if you enjoy this review, please make sure to support the show by leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We're at around 50 reviews. I've gotten a couple here and there. I want to do a full listener read off, but that requires more of you to leave us a review. I mean, I've got one here. Regular Human Being said, "Sublime, an essential OKC film podcast. Thank you, Regular Human Being. You sound like a real normal person. I appreciate you." There's also WolfMoss666, not ominous at all, who said, "Love it. Great show about movies." You want to join the lineup of those folks? You've got to actually leave the review on Apple Podcasts, okay? And we want to get discovered by more listeners like you. Programming announcement. This has been a fun summer. We had a huge sprint covering Dead Center in June. Really, I think we put out 13, 14 podcasts on just covering the festival. Took a break, came back. We did a few reviews. We talked about Maxine,
Marvel films.
We reviewed
different
Deadpool
things.
and Wolverine. Yes. We are going to be taking another short end of summer hiatus in September. And this is just to help not only give us some R&R, but also gives me some time to think about how we can make the show better. It'll be worth it because when we come back from the hiatus, ladies and gentlemen, it's the great, great granddaddy of movies we're talking about. Of course, I'm referring to Francis Ford Coppola's big gamble. Put his entire family fortune on the line for this movie, probably his swan song unless it makes a ton of money, and possible masterpiece or possible total disaster, Megalopolis. The film releases on Friday, September 27th, and we will have a review published. It's currently scheduled for Wednesday, October 2nd. I don't know about you, Laron, or any of you at this table, Megalopolis. I don't think I've been more excited for a movie that might be a disaster in a long time, but also it looks like it could be mad genius at the same time. And
We shall see.
we shall see.
Have two exoskeletons of reviews, depending on which coin flip it goes, which direction it goes. So,
And Mia, there are two wolves. There's one that remembers The Godfather, part 1, 2, and 3. And then there's also the other wolf that remembers Jack, starring Robin Williams.
Respect.
So listeners, Wednesday, October 2nd, check us out there. Well, enough with the housekeeping. Let's get to our icebreaker question. So today, I'm going to ask the question. You are doomed to die at the hands of a xenomorph. There's no way out of it. We are all dead, maybe at this table. A xenomorph is going to kill us one way or another. My question is
is it Daniel's fault?
Yes.
well, there's no,
Not even a
that's
question.
the answer.
Yeah, it's-
exactly. Yeah, it's his birthday. We're all dead. In which movie would you prefer to go out and why? And I want to specify what I mean by that. Every Alien movie, having just watched all of them in the last 2 weeks for the first time in a very long time, all of them are very distinct in the type of movie they are, which means the kills, while there's some kind of overlap in the mechanics of how they die, radically different in the execution. So, for example, Alien 1, the original, it's more like you're dying you're more of a slasher victim. A serial killer has come to kill you. If you're in Aliens, you're probably a space marine, maybe going down like a chump, maybe going down like a hero. Or in Alien 3, you're just some prisoner who no one cares about, So the question is, which of these movies would you like to die in? Daniel Bokemper, happy birthday. Which choice do you choose?
Man, I don't care which movie it is, but I want 2 face huggers at once.
The American Dream.
Yeah, I know.
Wait.
The other one.
I was gonna say, there's only two. There's 2 holes. I'm just gonna say.
They're like Beats headphones. Oh, they're gonna have to
They're
get.
face huggers, though,
To
right?
call it a cheek hugger.
They're gonna have to get a little more creative than Alien Romulus. That's
You
all.
know what? I
I'm
have to
saying.
change my answer.
So, Daniel, what I'm hearing is you want to go out in Alien Resurrection, which is experimental lab rat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's go with
They're,
that.
they're experimenting with shit in Alien Resurrection, right? Brad Dourif over here being like, oh, what if we put one in the other hole in their body?
What if we tie these xenomorphs' tails together?
Jesus Christ.
Make them kiss.
And make them kiss. Let's put dresses on them.
This
See what happens.
has already gone off the rails. Holy cow. Well, Daniel, that's a great...
That's a great thanks, Caleb. I know it was. Don't say 3 face huggers though.
You're probably going to burn in hell for that answer, but
That's
it's
fine.
okay.
That's fine.
All right, Nathan Poppe, what movie would you choose?
I'm gonna go Prometheus. I would just like for Charlize Theron to see me do something brave. I think that's my best chance.
Yeah.
Who doesn't?
I would definitely die saving somebody. Some acid would get splashed. Maybe I wouldn't die and I'd still have a sick scar. So either way, I just want to make sure someone's helmet camera is placed firmly on me so they can
She
watch
can
it
see.
back. Yes.
So the camera's placed on you and Charlize Theron is in the room when you get attacked.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Good.
I mean, again, who among us has not thought about that as a way to die? I mean, I certainly have. Broccoli, what movie would you prefer to die in?
I was gonna go Prometheus as well because in all of these, I mean, Alien 3, no one wants to. First, why the hell are you in the prison? You've had a really hard life, and then to go out like that is even worse. But with Prometheus, at least with the plot of the movie, there is a positive intent and there is hope and cool things happening. And so, at least before I died, I'd be like, "Hey, I was doing something.
It was for the greater good.
It was for the greater.
I was a smart person.
yeah. Yeah. I got to play pool with Numi Rapace and
Oh yeah,
feel smart.
Guess
Idris Elba's up there too.
you get to ride with Idris Elba in the sky right before he kamikazes to the craft that then takes off again later. Okay.
Whoops.
Whoopsie. But hey.
I feel like David would have liked me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, no,
He
definitely.
might have been like, you
100%.
know what? It's
What
okay.
he spiked you though? I mean, he liked the other guy, right? He liked Diet Coke Tom Hardy, right?
Oh.
Like Tom Hardy.
LeBron Chapman. Which death do you choose?
I gotta go with Aliens because I really just want to go out guns a-blazing. You know, like that seems like the victory lap I need before my death. So, and that's also it's such a fun film. It's just such a, you know, like you said, all these movies have different distinct tones, and it's definitely the action heavy version of this, but a good, high octane action film. So
I do feel like that's the only one you can actually go out like a hero. Unless, of course, having aliens on both holes is heroic.
It is.
depends on who you ask.
Go down like Bill Paxton. Even though Bill Paxton's kind of a wimp in that movie, he still goes down like a hero, though.
I had to come up with a new one-liner though. You know, something different that Sigourney Weaver didn't say.
Well, you've already got a leg up on the movie we're about to talk about today. I'm just going to say, for science, Alien Covenant. You know what? If I'm dead anyway, might as well let some mad scientist dissect me and figure out how to breed a better super species, because, you know, what's the point of life if not to move evolution forward? I don't know.
And you could learn how to play the flute from David.
I could. You know what? That would be the great, you know, if I'm going to go, at least I get to learn how to play the flute from David. That's a great moment because he plays the Prometheus theme on the flute, which has made my heart warm.
I'll do the fingering. Great moment.
Listeners, tell us exactly if you have no choice, which alien movie would you prefer to die in? You can let us know by hitting us up on our social media channels. That's facebook.com/The Cinematropolis, Instagram @The Cinematrop, or wherever you can find us on thecinematropolis.com, or you can email me at thecinematropolis@gmail.com. That said, let's move into our spoiler-free review of Alien Romulus.
Are you sure you want to do this? There she is. You want to break in and steal highly regulated equipment.
This could be our only ticket out of here. Should be in and out in 30 minutes.
Welcome to the Romulus Space Station.
This place gives me the creeps.
So according to IMDb, Alien Romulus is described as, while scavenging the deep ends of a derelict space station, a group of young space colonists, they come face to face with the most terrifying life form in the universe. So a few important notes about this movie, little facts. Alien Romulus was released in theaters on Friday, August 17th, and it's directed by Fede Alvarez, also known for the 2013 remake of Evil Dead and Don't Breathe, both great movies. He's also the first Alien movie released since the completion of the 2019 Disney 20th Century Fox merger, I guess Disney acquisition of 20th Century Fox, rather. The last movie, for those of you who don't remember, and apparently I've discovered not a lot of people remember this movie. The last movie released was Alien Covenant, which came out in 2017. Now, Prometheus and Alien Covenant were directed by Ridley Scott. So it was kind of notable that this film, Alien Romulus, is still co-produced by Ridley Scott and Walter Hill. The former previously directed the original 1979 film in addition to 2012's Prometheus and 2017's Alien Covenant. This film, Alien Romulus, stars Kaylee Spaney as Rain and David Johnson as Andy, Archie Renault as Tyler, Isabella Merced as Kay, and Eileen Wu as Navarro. And one thing I thought was interesting, and it might factor into my kind of thoughts on the movie, is this film was originally greenlit in the sort of like closer to the pandemic era as a straight to Hulu exclusive. But then right before they went into production, it was announced, no, actually, this is going to go straight to theaters. This is the seventh film in the main Alien franchise if you don't count the Alien vs. Predator movies. And it's budgeted at $80 million. It opened at number 1 at the box office in its opening weekend with $41.5 million domestically in the U.S. and $108.2 million worldwide. So very successful when you think about it as a rated R horror film. It's also the second highest grossing weekend for the Xenomorphs, right behind Prometheus in 2012, which opened with $51.3 million. And for the super hardcore nerds, and I'm just going to put this out there, it's important context. This film takes place in the year 2042, which is after Prometheus and Alien Covenant. It actually takes place specifically between the original 1979 Alien, which is set in the year 2122, and Aliens 2179. With that said, I'm going to go all the way around the table, starting with you, Brock Lay. What did you think of Alien Romulus?
I loved it. I really dug the score of it, like the music. Whenever they kind of reveal the Xenomorph for the first time, that's not a spoiler, you know it's going to be in it. The music that was playing for that. But what I really loved, and I think Alvarez has all of this, is the cinematography, like his colors that he plays with. Whenever you're on Jackson Star, you see that, you know, it's really dark, but it has all these, I don't know, it's just really beautifully shot. Yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed it, along with the opening title, which now thinking about it is a premonition for the rest of the movie, where he kind of does his own thing, but then he kind of calls back to the original Alien opening animation of the logo.
Yeah, we still get that nice. It starts with Alien, but it still does the title change where the letters shift for Romulus.
Yes,
which is kind of neat. Daniel Bokemper, what did you think of Alien Romulus?
Yeah, I think it was pretty fun overall. I think there's a lot of really, really powerful craftsmanship at play. I think it does a really good balance of both the animatronics for the Xenomorphs and the facehuggers, and then knows when to use CGI at a point where it doesn't feel unnatural. I think that was kind of my thing with Covenant, was I feel like it leaned a little too hard into the CGI Xenomorph, and something about the creature sort of, I don't know, it got lost on me just a little bit. But I also think the leads are really powerful. I like Kaylee Spaney is a good lead. I do think David Johnson's Andy, the android, is the kind of the emotional anchor for the film, and I almost saw him as more of the lead in a lot of ways, or at least the character I was grabbed by. But I think both of them were interesting, which again didn't really feel super compelled by, you know, the characters we see and I like Prometheus, but I wasn't super attached to any of those characters. It's been a while since I've revisited it, but at the same time, Alien Covenant, I definitely wasn't really felt very connected with any of the characters.
Apparently no one else is either.
I know, not a lot of people, yeah.
No one else remembers that movie.
The whole movie. And yeah, I think to the sound design, I think is really good. And I think for like the first third of the film, I'm like, man, this is feeling like right where I've wanted Alien to be for a really long time. I think on the flip side, it starts to really lose its identity. I think this is an Alien film that, you know, regardless of whether or not they're bad, including Alien Covenant, even if I don't think they're very good, they do have a pretty distinct identity among themselves, and they do something that's unique. I know we talked about this a little bit previously, but I don't think this one does. And while that isn't inherently bad, it's okay for it to be, you know, very, very familiar and replay some of those same notes. I think there's a point where it starts to feel like it's checking a lot of strategically placed boxes, to the point where it's like, I don't really know what this film is trying to accomplish with that. And I think maybe we start to lose Fede Alvarez, which I feel like is a little upsetting, because I love Don't Breathe. And my first thought seeing Don't Breathe, maybe to my detriment, is like,
this is basically just Don't Breathe in space.
Exactly. And when I saw Don't Breathe, I was like, wow, this dude needs to like get his hands on his Xenomorph and we'll see what he can do. And it gets that for like, again, first third, first half. I really feel that. And then I think it just starts to kind of lose itself for the sake of, I don't think it's like all hollow nostalgia grabs. I think that's a little bit of an overstatement, but I do think it starts to try and recreate certain aspects of previous Alien films, even down to narrative structure, to the point where it's like, there's not a lot for me to like remember this film for. And then it makes me not really want to like revisit it all that bad. I probably will eventually, but I feel like in the immediate aftermath of it, I came out like thinking it was a really fun time, and then sleeping on it, it just feels like it's kind of some kind of diminishing return. And I don't expect that to be. I think generally most people would really like it, and again, I do for portions of it. But I do think there's something that's just lost. There's a little magic that feels compromised because it felt a little too afraid to carve its own path. I think that's where I land on it. But again, still a fun time.
It was like Disney was saying, "See, we know you. We watched horror movies.
And it's like
we know scary things too. We can check us out. We've seen
There's a lot of it's no coincidence in my opinion that this is Disney's take on Aliens. It kind of feels par for the course.
Well, and I guess what gave me a little bit of maybe false hope is like Prey isn't, it's a Predator movie, but it's not like film that's like feels partially dependent on callbacks to Predator. Like, I mean, I don't know. I don't think it does. I know it has them in there, and there is like a very overt.
What's the George Lucas like used to say? It rhymes.
I did find it weird though in Prey whenever she said "get to the chopper" and they're having.
It's just a horse named Chopper. Yeah, that's weird.
It was strange. All right. Well, so Daniel, you generally you like the movie, but maybe
I do. I feel like it should. I really wish. I don't think, and I'm assuming, I don't know the production. Maybe this is exactly the film Fede Alvarez wanted to make. Feels like he was held back a little bit for the sake of like, let's make sure people remember this is an alien movie. And let's give people a reason to like maybe that's one way to look at it, is it's like a celebration, like a retrospective celebration of Alien. But I don't know. I'm not for that, I guess. It's just maybe personal taste, but for me, it feels a little. Yeah,
but you had fun. You had a good time,
but it was fun.
You have a ton of reservations in terms of like longevity.
Yeah, and I still think it's like earning like the success it's having at the box office. I'm excited for. I do think it, it deserves that because it is a fun movie to see in theaters.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Nathan Poppe, what did you think of Alien Romulus?
I think you're scratching at something really interesting, Daniel. But I will say, a lot of the Alien movies share a lot with the Alien movies that came before it. I feel like the structure has stayed largely the same. So often you find this room, you find the egg room, you got to blast that guy out of the back of the ship.
It always ends with the alien gets on the ship somehow. Well, with the exception of two of the movies, it always ends with an alien gets on the ship, and then you fight the alien and you beat it by throwing out the airlock. And all but two of the movies.
If I was the alien, I'd simply just, that's a design flaw. Get rid of that airlock and you're golden.
I'm not going down there.
But I really did like all of the combination of the parts for this one. You brought up the music earlier. Fantastic. Just the sound design. Like, I don't think I've ever, there's always just so many, especially in the earlier ones, a lot of quick cuts and they're growling and trying to distract you from the fact that that's not a guy in a suit. The alien, the Xenomorphs really had some heft to it, I felt like, in this one. And you got some really cool angles and some shots that I don't think I've quite seen in an alien movie before. I really did think the music throughout was super duper strong. Visually, these guys really cared about what they were making. Whoever's really at the driver's seat, I think they adored what came before it, and everything from the computer sounds to all the screens and a lot of that more manual field and everything around. I love the set of that the ship up there. Fantastic. I liked how they it definitely reminded me. I did feel like I was watching somebody play a video game.
Yes.
Yeah.
more than a few times. But I had a really good time with this one. Not that I don't love flutes. And creation myths, but this was just like just hit the accelerator on the go-kart and go. And I had a pretty good time. Definitely. Kaylee's the lead is, what's the other? She was in the Elvis movie.
She was in the Priscilla.
She was also in
Priscilla.
Civil War recently.
Yeah, and she was in earlier this year.
That's right. She was the war photographer in that. Okay.
She's having quite a
good year.
little year.
Yeah.
Year and
nice
a
little
half.
bit.
Yeah.
That's crazy, but she can barely survive Elvis, but aliens she can handle. But I had a really good time, elevated especially by the performances, and I think all of the love that went into this one. I walked out with a pretty big smile on my face.
Love to hear that. Anytime people enjoy theatrical, and I will say this movie had a couple of moments that were real. It was great for the crowd too.
Mhm.
I just want to say, like, in particular, there was one moment where people like literally gasp, and you could hear everyone gasping, and they're like, "Oh, okay." Now, I know we're on to something with this. Laron, Chapman, what did you think of Alien Romulus?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of Alvarez, but I still felt like I was going to go into this with some reservations, just because it's a big property. And like you said, some of the films I don't quite remember Covenant, but I just remember it just kind of floated away from my memory. But I hold the first two in such high regard, and knowing that this was going to be taking place between those, it was going to be hard for me really to not try and compare them. But I found this to actually be very sturdy and effective, and the homages I didn't actually think were as egregious as some people have claimed. It does feel like a Frankenstein version of the first four films, but what it does in playing the greatest hits here, I think it does a lot better than, say, a film that we've reviewed recently, like Deadpool and Wolverine, where it's like its fan service is laid on so thick, but it doesn't actually forget to be a movie. And this is still a film that I was invested in and I was engaged in, even if it does feel somewhat familiar, and especially in narrative structure. But I think the performance is elevated, and also the production design is really fantastic. And I think if any of the craft in this film was lesser than in any capacity, I don't think we could, you know what I mean, we could latch on as strongly, but all that stuff was there, as Nathan mentioned. It's there's such an affection to it, so I couldn't help but get sucked into the world building that they had created. It is very visually arresting and still very effective in the ways that it says it's going to be on the box. So,
All right, man, very pro table. I'm gonna be the downer. This never happens. So, okay.
It's your job.
What's your beef?
No, okay. I want to start by saying, I don't want to repeat what's already been said. I actually agree with everything that's been said. I think the production design, the score, the directing, and there's a real strong visual. I mean, Fede Alvarez has such a good control of taking these weird ass ideas and translating them into something on the camera that's really terrifying. There's a lot of moments in here that I think that works really well. So I like the movie. I just want to say, start off, I do really like this movie a lot. Like, it's a super fun time. I've now seen it twice, and I think both times I watched it, it was a fun ride. And also watching other people watch it the second time in particular was a lot of fun. The animatronic, again, I will say, and I am a huge, huge stan of Alien Covenant, but one of the weaknesses of the movie is that they rely on CG way more than they should have. This movie leans into the old school way of filmmaking. All that stuff is true. So this is a good movie. I just want to start off by saying nice things, and I believe those things are true, and I will absolutely probably rewatch this again, and I would recommend it to most people. That said, to quote Martin Scorsese's take on the Marvel movies, I tried, but that's not cinema. Scorsese told Empire Magazine about the Marvel movies. Honestly, the closest I can think of them is they're made up. They are actors doing the best they can under the circumstances in theme parks. It isn't cinema of human beings trying to convey human emotional, psychological experiences to another human being. He compares them a lot more to rides. Okay, I don't actually think everything he said here applies to this movie, but I will say this is probably the first, having just rewatched all of them. Well, what you're saying, Nathan, is true that from a plot perspective, there, especially in there's a lot of things it hits on. Every single Alien movie has a very distinct thing it's going for. And I'm not saying they always make it to what they're going for. In fact, I would say more times than not, they don't. But they're always really reaching for something bigger. Alien 3, Alien Resurrection, goofy or silly or depressing. Those have ideas. And I'm a huge stan, which is weird because no one else is apparently. I'm a huge stan for Prometheus and Alien Covenant. And those movies are deeply flawed, massively flawed. The humans in both of those movies are aggressively dumb to a point where when someone tells me they don't like them, I'm like, I get it. But I also think the thing they're going for is really compelling to me personally. This is the first movie outside of making a movie for Alien fans. I don't really understand what it's trying to achieve. It's like, okay, we love this thing. We're making a new take on the old thing, and we're doing a freaking bang up job. Like, seriously, I want to reiterate, this is a great time. I would recommend this movie. At the same time, part of me is deeply sad. Maybe this is just the bitterness of I really wanted that third Michael Fassbender David movie that they were trying to make, because those movies are reaching for something that I am really fascinated in. And it's something that was possible under the 20th Century Fox banner that is definitely not possible under the Disney banner, because Disney's just not interested in that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So all I'm saying here is I think this is a very good movie. Part of me is a little sad that this movie doesn't really have a lot of strong ideas for like adding for like what's the story or the themes you're really trying to explore that haven't already been tapped into. You're playing the greatest hits. Sometimes I was kind of annoyed. I don't think they don't ruin the film, and a lot of times they're a lot of fun. But it's like, okay, at a certain point I feel like it's fan service, and it did take me out of it a little bit. Does not make this a bad movie. But again, if this is what the future of the franchise looks like under Disney, I'm a little disappointed. But
I guess what it gets me, and I'm just, well, hearing you say that, Caleb, is I think one thing that I thought was, and again, going back to my comment about why I like the start of the film so much, is there is kind of a distinct human element. Like you're actually somewhat for the first time. I know the colonies are an alien, but you don't get like
no, you're actually going to see what do colonies look like.
Yes,
like
and so and it informs the first Alien film in which they're talking about their bonuses or what they're going to do when they get back and their shares. And I'm like, I'm kind of curious because I kind of like that blue collar aspect of the original Alien film. I didn't when I was a kid. I thought it was boring, but now I'm like, that's pretty cool. Like it actually breathed a lot of life into the film, and I think that's the thing. Is this film starts out by breathing a lot of life into it, but it doesn't exhale anything to me. I think by the time it like starts to get further, it feels like it's a little more suffocated. I don't want to say entirely by what feels like kind of the fan servicey stuff, but
there's a lot of fan service.
But I feel like some of that actively takes away from like Andy, like the we'll get into it a bit later, but there's a presence of one character that I don't really like. I get that it's a callback and it's something that's familiar, but at the same time, I don't think it takes away from another compelling character.
It completely ruins all the practical effects that were so effective in
that too. Yes, and that's pretty big too. And I know, the use of that we'll get into, and I've actually read up a little bit on it, so I'm not as like offended.
You were pretty heated at work.
I was pretty heated, and then like right when I got back to my desk, Rod, who was on the previous episode of this podcast, sent me something that kind of elaborated upon that to the
Thanks
point
a lot,
where,
dude, I could have used some.
Yeah, no,
I've listened to or read like 3 interviews with Alvarez about that thing that we're going to talk about in spoilers.
Yeah, it doesn't fix all of the issues, but maybe it at least semi addresses the ethical ones.
He at least thought about our concerns.
Right.
Now, he might not have, followed them or cared about them, but he thought about them.
But yeah, he thought about them and then got paid. But like, I don't know, that's the thing is I feel like it loses the human element. Like I feel like it's a film that for me, it felt like it started with so much potential and it kind of fizzled, still enjoying it and still having fun. But like that whatever didactic that, some of the other films get at, this one just didn't really deliver that. And to me, that's where I kind of get
Listen, I'm the guy who said I would rather take 3 bad Eternals movies from Marvel than another Black Widow. And I stick by that. And again, this movie is so much better than either of those movies. I want to clarify. But I guess that my point is I would rather see a movie like an Alien Resurrection take a bold swing and just totally not deliver than like a movie that's like, all right, but like, what if we just, we know what people like. Let's just do that again. That's me.
Alien Resurrection gave us the underwater scene, though.
It did.
I know.
We finally got to see an alien swim, and
they swim well.
Alien human hybrid, which the design was pretty creepy in that movie. I
don't know. Resurrection's stupid, but
yeah.
I think that alien
talking
human
myself
hybrid's
into
kind
it.
of cute. It's a little face and it's got little eyebrows and it's like.
Well, okay, so we talked about Daniel. You talked about Fede Alvarez's direction. Nathan, I want to throw it to you. I mean, you seem like you're a big fan of like all the practical approaches. What do you? I mean, have you seen Fede's other movies, and how do you think this compares?
I actually have not. This is my first movie of his because, he's definitely not afraid to tackle territory that's definitely been trod multiple times. I did recently watch the first original 2 Evil Dead, so I haven't seen his take on it yet.
Buckle up, buddy.
It's
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
It's different.
I encourage you to watch Army in Darkness, the number 3 of the Evil Dead.
Yes.
Okay.
That's actually, it's kind of funny. Like, my first Alien movie was Prometheus.
Really?
Yeah. And then I
Interesting.
went back and, I kind of watched things in all wonky order.
I mean, that's a
but-
great experience, though. I would be interested because that is chronologically the
It
first
is,
movie.
yeah.
Yeah. So I did it right.
Yeah, you knew.
Everybody else is a weirdo.
But so you haven't. I'm actually interested in your take because you have not seen his previous films. But I think all of us at the table otherwise have this expectation of like, oh, Fed is attached. This is going to be interesting. What did you think about his approach to the material overall?
I think he understands what makes these things creepy. He did a good job of. I don't know. It is funny that this is the timetable lands it between 1 and 2, because 1, we're leaning towards this slasher thing. 2, it's a balls to the wall action movie. We gave you 1 in the first one, and now would you like 37? And so I think it's challenging because. And maybe this talks to the point you guys are making. It's just like, I'm going to have a lot of elements where it's spooky in just 1, and then I will give you 37 of them. He's trying to play both at the same time in his movie, but I don't think anything was done without a ton of confidence. Everything just looked, besides the one thing that we'll talk about here in a little bit, looks so fantastic. I believe that it exists. I love, even with how they played with gravity.
Oh yeah.
That was a clever, fun, nice touch that I haven't seen in any of the other ones before. If it is a roller coaster, it's one that I would want to ride again.
Yeah.
I really did have a lot of fun. And I did go back before this and just watched Prometheus and Covenant, just because I was like, I remember all the other ones, but I truly had forgotten what happened in all of those.
Apparently everyone else did too, so you're not alone.
And if you gave me 2 doors and it was like, would you like the third Prometheus movie or would you like the roller coaster ride? I'm afraid I'd have to go.
Don't say it.
I'm going Fede's route here.
Damn.
Sorry.
This is the podcast is over all of a sudden. No, I'm just kidding. Well, that's cool. I appreciate you saying that though, because I mean, there's the other thing where a lot of times you get siloed into your way of thinking, especially with films like this, or you find your people who agree with you and you're like, well, yeah, this is clearly how it should go. Because I was kind of curious, like, what do people want from this franchise? We'll talk about it more in the spoiler section too, but like, what do people actually want? I'm probably the weirdo who wants the freaking, creation myths, origin story, what's the relation between God, man, and man's creation? Like, yeah, that's probably not for everybody.
I want to see acid blood floating around it and shit.
Yeah.
You want to see face huggers on 2 orifices.
Yes. Make it happen. Twin chest
It's
burst.
gonna happen now that we've put it out.
I know, yeah.
Fede's listening to this podcast. Also, the last thing I'd say, considering the fact that this movie is only $80 million, it looks phenomenal for an $80 million. I mean, I know it's a lot of money, but like when you think about the fact that, again, not throw Marvel under the bus, but those cost $250 million and look half as good as
That's
this.
what's funny.
Good point.
If they would have gotten $100 million, the CGI would have looked worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I stand by that.
That's
I
actually
agree.
Because they took the 1979 design of it and still kept with that, and it looks real because it's not overthought, it's not over-teched, it's not over like futurized. Like they took 1979, which was lights and all of that stuff, and they just kept with it, and it looked real. It actually looks like what a real spaceship could probably look like. I don't know. That's one thing that you spoke on, Bokemper, that I really dug was just the restraint.
Yeah.
Brock, well, I've got you talking. Fede Alvarez. What do you? I mean, you've seen his other films, right?
Yes, I have.
What do you think?
Well, when this trailer came out, I don't know if you sent it to me or I saw it. I immediately texted you and I said that shot from behind of that girl with the beacon in the red and stuff. I was like, that looks like you wouldn't even have to tell me who it was. And I was like, that's an Alvarez. That's just gonna be an Alvarez movie because it looked like something you'd seen in Evil Dead or Don't Breathe. So I don't know. I think he brought his style. He brings really good tension. You were sitting next to me. I mean, all of his movies have great tension. Those little moments where you're kind of on the edge of your seat and you would see me kind of jerk or like have my hand out, like waiting for it to be over. Cause I was like,
it's intense.
Good tension. And so, no, and nobody else would I have wanted to take this movie, even with the grade I'm going to give it. I still would to pick him to do it every time.
I mean, I will say, whenever they announced he was going to do it, I was like, "Yep, that's the guy you want making this movie."
I was at least intrigued for sure.
Yeah. Daniel Bokemper, Fede Alvarez, yay, nay?
Yeah, I like him as a director. I was wanting something a little different, I think, from this one a bit. I think I really love, and again, maybe Don't Breathe is what kind of taints my
Did you see Don't Breathe too?
perspective. No, I avoided that. Hard.
He did produce that one. He's attached.
Suffocate.
He didn't so he didn't direct it. I thought he directed it too. I was just going to not
But
talk
his name's
about
on it.
What did you love about Don't Breathe?
I really, really, really love the setting. I love the way it navigates that setting too, how well aware it is of that house, how that house is kind of a character in of itself. And I also think it's just a crazy premise that I guess this is the thing with Alien, multiple xenomorphs. I know they're a thing. I know they happen. They're in the other ones, but I feel like there is so much power in a singular threat. And with the exclusion of the dogs and Don't Breathe, which I forget about those, but yeah, they are there and they are scary. I think just that singular blind Vietnam vet, being someone who you would not expect to be.
Stephen Lang is pretty threatening at any
I mean, just casting him in of itself is a threat, but the fact that you are able to make so much out of that character and how he made this singular threat inhuman and very just the tension of that film, how he creeps around, how the use of darkness, there's that strobing scene where they're in the cellar, and those sequences last a while to the point where I'm like, I don't need to be changed to something else. At the same time, I'm not crazy about it starts to get to this weird not conspiracy, but in the film where he's kidnapped somebody and he's keeping them down there to try and bring back his daughter because his daughter was taken. That's the part where I'm like, this is a little.
Yeah, but you like the inversion though.
But I like the inversion.
They're breaking into this guy's house. They're the bad. Oh wait, whoops! Whose house did we just break into?
And I like the claustrophobia, and that's the same reason I like the original Alien, is it's so tight quarters and it's so.
And it actually surprises you.
Yeah,
the story's not. It's not straightforward like
exactly.
You think it is. There's some weird things that happen, along the way.
Yeah, and I feel like with this one, it's where it starts to break up even if it makes sense that there's multiple xenomorphs. I think when you start to introduce that, it to me, it kind of takes away from what I really wanted from the film, and what makes me feel compelled by Alvarez a bit is that singular threat, but building so much tension around that. And in the middle of the gunfights, you kind of forget about the space it's taking place in, except I thought that acid blood, no gravity scene was awesome.
It was pretty.
That was really cool and creative. So that is
to that section yet.
Oh, my bad.
Okay,
nothing happens with acid.
There's acid blood in the movie somewhere.
That should surprise no one.
How it's utilized, we won't say.
But it's pretty cool.
I do have one more question. You did talk about how well he used the space in Don't Breathe. I had no idea where anybody was on the spaceship.
I don't actually disagree with that. The only thing
it felt a little too big.
So
I
was able to track the people who were in. There was a breakdown. There were sometimes I thought they did it really well, and there were other times, specifically in the second to third, the end of the second act, beginning of Act 3. I was like, dude,
the geography was very
muddled,
and that's where I think it gets lost. I'm glad you brought that up because it's that's.
I did love that though when they crawled in the first when they first reach the shuttle up there. They have that really tiny space, and someone in the audience went, "Nope."
I was like,
That was
what
cool.
if their backpack just gets caught on a little thing on the on the top, and
Yep.
they can't keep going forward. We're backward.
Yeah.
Well, Laron, what did you think of Alvarez's direction here?
Yeah, it feels like in some ways this is his proof of concept, with the IP. I think maybe, they're taking a chance on it. And maybe even for himself, he was like, I want to get enough right to satisfy the most amount of people with this one. And if they give me money to do another one, maybe I'll go buck wild on that one because I've already proven, that I can do it. And in that regard, I mean, like I said, the affection is really there. And nothing is worse than when you bring on a director to material that they clearly aren't in love with or didn't grow up with or don't, and that happens, you'll get a director who's skillful but doesn't actually love the product that he's making. And you really feel like he does here. And so in that respect, I enjoyed that, that aspect of it. So I don't think it has a distinctive, style of his in there. I mean, outside of some lighting, some cinematography, but in terms of the way his stories normally kind of shift gears, but with exception of maybe when we get to talking about the third act, but I mean, overall, I was very, very happy with the results.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have too much to add. I think we all agree that this guy brought something, a real passion for the material, and again, just commitment to executing it well. It sounds like that we're all kind of on the same page, and I would agree with that. Laron, you raised a great point. Maybe he does this one well, and he gets to do another one, and that's when he's just like, oh.
Because if he Last Jedi'd it, you know what I mean, then maybe we would love it. We would love it.
I would love nothing more than a Last Jedi.
But maybe it would
alien
piss
movie.
off the general. I don't know, and maybe he had.
I feel like if you've watched all the Alien movies, it's impossible to piss Alien fans off because there's some true stinkers in there with some true stinkers with great ideas. And if people will embrace those, they'll embrace other stinkers with bad ideas. I guess.
Weirdly, though, there's like discourse around people being like grossly upset with like aliens and the introduction of an alien queen and thinking it like ruins the film somehow.
I mean,
because
I'm
it
sure
takes
there's
away
haters
from...
out there in general, but like
No, I
Alien
know,
and
but...
Aliens are both part of like the film canon. Like in general, people understand that those,
they do, but they're people get really obsessed with their lore and how things that are fictional are supposed to work. Apparently,
I mean, I love Alien, but I like the lore is not. I mean, I say that, but I love Prometheus.
You're pissing me off.
Yeah,
Man.
I don't know. I don't know what I'm going for. I just say he did a great job. I think he would be capable of making a great sequel and I would be interested if he was able to have an Aliens movie that was 100% his.
Well, what's cool is if he makes a sequel, it'll be a hell of a lot shorter because he won't have as many references to pass.
Oh, please.
Movies
God.
They're all
Get them
there.
all out of the way. Yeah.
I guess that's the other thing. I'm just tired. I'm just tired. We've been in this cycle for what feels like 15 years or 10 years at least, where it's like all the movies are just like, I remember that thing. Remember the member berries from South Park. It's just like, oh, you remember that? Oh, it's great. And I'm like, okay, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but you know what would be cooler? Ridley Scott going buck wild with his philosophical bullshit about creation. I would watch that. Like I'm the weirdo who's like, at least that's different and interesting. Okay. What letter grade would we give Alien Romulus? Laron, I'll throw it back to you.
I think I'm resting at a B+ with this one. It's a solid ride. I don't. We're gonna rank later, but I feel like this is one I would revisit because of how lean and sturdy it is. You know what I mean? Like
It's very watchable.
It's very just rewatchable, and there's individual scenes I want to see again. So whereas other ones, like you said, you kind of gotta again interesting ideas, but you kind of gotta get bogged down in all of the philosophical stuff. Like which can be fun on an intellectual level, but if you just want to put something on and just like you said, just see some bodies get devoured, then.
No one else likes to see David, played by Michael Fassbender, quote Ozymandias on the screen. No one? No one else?
I liked it when he got his head knocked
It feels like normally in other scenarios, I'm definitely arguing the point that you're making.
The crowd just gets too rowdy when that happens.
For whatever reason with
Too much,
Alien,
you can't pop the crowd that hard.
Yeah, I just prefer the straight horror sci-fi.
There was no one else when they were watching Alien Covenant that said he said it was Percy Shelley. He said it was Byron. I was like, no, that's not Byron. That's not Byron, you son of a bitch. I'm an English literature major. That's not Byron.
Oh, my crowd set the theater on fire after that.
Yeah, no, they were done.
pissed.
Sorry, Laron, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
you're
you're
totally right. It's
good.
very watchable.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, sorry, I hijacked your point.
You're good. You're good.
Brock Clay, what letter grade would you give this movie?
I don't think I've ever been lower than Laron. This is a first for me. I gave it a C+.
Oh, wow.
Respectable still.
I'll watch it. I'll watch it again all day, every day. I'll watch any Alien movie because there's not a bad one. Like they're all like you just can't like not like the Xenomorphs and the facehuggers and just all of the lore. Caleb, just kidding. But everything about it's just nice. But I gave it a C+. There was just so many things that, as I was like getting really deep into it, that would just kept pulling me back out and really taking me out of the scenes that he was setting, the set pieces, all of it.
You mean like references or fan fiction or just in general?
Yeah, I wasn't trying to be spoilery. Yeah, the references really took me out. And then just some one random thing whenever we talk about CGI that I was just like, I couldn't get past it. So I have to give it a C+. Still, I mean, I'll watch it again. It was a fun movie.
All right, Nathan Poppe.
I think I'm gonna echo Laron's grade of a B+. It's on its way. Like we said, if there was a sequel, I would be pretty pumped. You can't have a Batman Dark Knight without a Batman Begins, so got to start somewhere. If it had 2 flutes in it, it might have bumped up a whole letter grade. That's debatable, but at the end of the day, I think the Kaylee and David, I love what those actors bring to the movie. I liked the younger cast. I think it's gonna lead to more things down the road, and this was a good place to start. So
yeah, a promising reboot. I mean, reboot's not the right word because it is technically set in the continuity.
Yeah, what do we call this? Sort of half a boot?
It's not like a Lego sequel because it doesn't have any of the actors from the other. Well, okay. Anyway, but that's it. Daniel Bokemper, what letter grade would you give the movie?
Yeah, weird. I was surprised I'm higher than you, Brock, by just a little bit. I'm going to give it a B-, because I do think, again, there's a lot of things it does right in terms of craftsmanship, in terms of sound design, in terms of certain sequences. And again, I do think it starts really, really strong, but it just ends up being kind of maybe a semblance of the story I was expecting or really wanted to see. And I think it loses some of its intimacy, and it definitely, we talked about it, it loses its identity, I think, a little bit among the Alien canon. That being said, I do still think this is a pretty good outcome of what this movie could have been. And I would be up for seeing Alvarez take another swing at it and doing a follow-up. And honestly, I agree with Nathan, especially with the Batman Begins. I'm like, yeah, you know what? Like, he might have done this just to this might be the Force Awakens, just to kind of,
give us the Last Jedi.
Either get us the Last
Jedi kills the franchise.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, until everyone gets big mad for original ideas. We want the same. Bring us Palpatine back.
We miss him.
We miss him. He was the best.
Said literally no one ever.
Yeah.
I mean, not.
I don't want to say no one ever didn't say that, but definitely.
Oscar Isaac certainly didn't believe it in that movie. Somehow, Palpatine returns. Somehow, Lance Hendrickson returned.
I love how someone put that on a screenplay. Somehow this happened. Like, you're not even going to try. Like, you don't want to be like, well, the Force magic. And of course,
may never know.
Never know.
No time to explain.
No time to explain.
What if you went on a fetch quest instead of explaining? Okay, I'm gonna give it a B- as well. I had a great time. I'm surprised I'm a little higher than Brock, but not much.
Damn, weird, man.
I'm the lowest for the first time ever.
Yeah.
Okay, because again, I know it sounds like I'm coming down harsh, and I feel like it's a good movie, not a great movie, and I stick by that. It does pretty much everything right on the production side. It just feels like, from a storytelling perspective, it's playing it safe. It's playing the hits. Even the stuff that it does, it's kind of crazy. It's actually still playing the hits. We'll talk about in spoilers. So with that, I know a lot of these other movies aren't very good, but man, I love it. I love the swings. I love the ideas. I love that I'm thinking about the movie when it's done. This movie, I'm like, well, that was a great time. It's fun, guys. Fun ride. see you tomorrow. Wake up the next day, forgot I saw the movie. So, that's
why you saw it twice.
Yeah.
If I'm seeing the sun for the first time, I'm doing more than like, that's pretty neat. That's kind of cool.
Sometimes your friends have birthdays and you go see a movie twice. That's what happens.
Fair enough.
All right, let's rank the Alien versus Predator. Sorry, the non-Alien versus Predator movies. Rank the Alien. One, two of those. Laron, chat. Actually, I'll throw it to you, Nathan. First time. Do us. It's been a long time since you've been on, so you have the honors of starting our ranking.
Okay, here we go. Let's see if I can remember them all. Oh yeah.
A general list.
Tight. Crushing it. Man, Alien, number one. We'll start at the tippity top. Hard to beat. Started the whole damn thing.
Holds up remarkably well.
It just, I don't have a ton of complaints about that one. It is spooky. It introduced so many wonderful things, and new things to be terrified of. So, right to the top. I really like Aliens, number two. And then I'm probably going to jump toward the end. Oh wait, I can have it Romulus in here too, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm basically just reading your ranking. Then I'm gonna go Covenant. Then I'm going to go Prometheus. And then Alien 3. Man, you talk about leaving the theater and feeling like you had a pretty good time after this one. I needed like to eat a giant bowl of pho.
Yes.
And have a shower after Alien 3.
Yes.
I was just like, this is so sad. Can this lady catch a fucking break?
So especially when you think about it, my wife she had never seen it, so we watched the marathon, and we actually I had
seen ice cream.
I had seen both of these movies, but I had never ever watched them back to back. Like immediately, we finished Aliens and turned Alien 3 on, and I was like, intellectually, I know that like it just starts so bleak in the but then you're like, holy shit, what tonal whiplash is going on here? All those characters that she just like put her life on the line for and went through all that, they did. And
it's like 52 years from the first to the second, but to her it was like a night.
Yeah, it was a week.
Up. Yeah, so like her is like a freaking week of just hell.
She's like, I lost my crew. I went to sleep. I woke up. They sent me on this other mission. I lost a larger crew. I saved a couple of them. Better than the first time. Yay. Went to sleep. Woke up. They're dead. And now I'm in this shitty prison.
All dudes.
All bald dudes.
Yeah.
This place sucks.
Fincher had some shit to work through. This is what it's saying.
Oh man. Okay, so that means Alien Resurrection bottom.
Well, it's gonna bottom the list. Yeah. I do love that backward shot that she allegedly got that in one take. Amazing. But and again, Ron Perlman, solid, but that is maybe at the top of the list of, if you put a gun to my head and say, what do you remember from this movie? I'd be like, the giant white baby.
Sigourney Weaver lab experiment gets torched.
She came back for some reason, but
somehow Sigourney Weaver as Ripley returned.
Also, he mixed your DNA with the thing that's trying to kill you. Isn't that hilarious?
Oh my god, the late 90s was a hell of a time in sci-fi, guys.
Yeah, that one probably my least favorite and the least memorable in my eyes.
Mm-hmm. All right. I think that's a great ranking. I think that's, what's nice about these movies is like you could make honestly an argument for any ranking, and I don't think I would actually hate you. You could say Resurrection is number one, and I would be like, you get a point. I don't disagree. I don't agree, but
yeah,
I can get on board with that. So Daniel Bokemper, tell me why Alien Resurrection is your number one.
Yeah,
on your birthday.
Gladly. Well, actually, you forced us to exclude my two favorite films. Alien Requiem being the top, obviously.
Oh yeah.
Things are scarier when you can't see them.
If you'd said Alien,
has anybody seen Jaws?
If you'd said
Alien decided to do that for the whole movie. Alien Requiem, Alien vs Predator Requiem.
AVP 1, maybe we could talk about it, but AVP 2, no way.
No, that movie done fucked up. They were like, we got to get this out. Who cares if we fully rendered the whole reason we're making this movie? Just get it out.
In fear we don't come back to those terrible movies. Why did it go Alien v Predator and then Aliens v Predator?
Yeah, because there was a bunch of aliens in the first one.
Wait, is it Aliens v Predator, the second one?
The first one is Alien v Predator, and then it's Aliens v Predator Requiem. And I'm like,
Wait,
why?
is it really? I didn't notice that detail.
Yeah, I Googled it in the theater, and
They did some testing, and they were like, people need to know that there's more than one.
Shit, you're...
Why did they do
I
that?
never
weird.
noticed that. That makes no goddamn sense.
And neither did this movie.
Well, the first Alien was Alien, and the second one
Is that why they did it?
I don't know.
I get, yeah.
more than
There's a lot of aliens in AVP, guys.
But please, yeah, move
So,
on.
sorry, Daniel,
Weird.
you're ranking Resurrection, the best movie. Why?
Yeah, no, okay. It's not, but it's pretty high on my list, actually. So Alien, landmark film, Aliens, hell yeah, Space Marines, Prometheus. I could watch Michael Fassbender I love Michael Fassbender. I could watch him get his head knocked off all day. That's pretty cool. And it's a good film. It does a lot of interesting things. A lot of unique creatures, too, I think. That makes it kind of special to me. Then Alien Resurrection, because I don't know. It's like something to do with like the AMC Fear Fest, I think. I think it's like one of those movies I've seen ad nauseum as a kid, and I just thought it was cool. And like, does it hold up super well? No. Do I think it's funny that there's a clone of Ellen Ripley that begs the current Ellen Ripley 8 or whatever, Ripley 8 to kill it? And she does. That's a weird image to me. I also think there's a bit of a like kind of cool chemistry, not romantic chemistry, at least I don't remember there's any, but between Winona Ryder and Sigourney Weaver. I think those are two kind of cool characters.
Just remember, Winona Ryder was in that movie.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
It's news she was the android.
She was the android, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I just think it's funny. I that was one of those things when I was rewatching, I was like, and I had seen that movie a lot, just not in a while. I was like, oh shit, she is in this movie.
No, I knew she was in it because that was my girl whenever I was growing up.
Yeah, there you go.
That's maybe why I like it so much.
Yeah, well, she's coming back. Beetlejuice. It's gonna be soon. But yeah, so I think Alien Resurrection. I just think it's fun, and then I think that's where Alien Romulus kind of falls just below that one.
below Alien Resurrection.
Pretty low.
Okay.
Pretty low.
Right.
And then Alien Covenant didn't do anything for me, and then Alien 3. But like,
I didn't even rank Alien Covenant, Daniel. The other day, you didn't even remember it existed. So you know,
I know, and I remembered it did. And I remembered I didn't like it very much. So, and hence it's second to last. Alien 3, though, it is sad. Like Nathan hit the nail on the head. I'm just like, I'm so sorry, Ripley. Life sucks. And even then, like, she is finally like, well, I guess I'm just going to die. And then she jumps.
That is
that's
a happy
the
ending. She throws herself
she
into
dies,
a
and then
furnace.
simultaneously it's like, but there's a queen chest burster inside you. Like, she couldn't even kill herself without the chest burster emerging.
That was the
from her. It's
happy
like,
ending, Daniel.
I know. I'm just like,
And she's like, finally, it's over. And then they bring her back.
yeah. And then they're like, no, we
Right.
cloned you 8 times.
They're like, no, hang on. We're not.
Yeah. And this alien queen has a uterus. That's fun.
So many orifices.
Why?
It's body horror,
The
though.
perfect organism.
So Alien 3 is the bottom of the pack. So that leads me to
Yeah.
Brock 3. Where do the orifices fall on your ranking?
It's like the first podcast. You're going to have like a parental guidance rating.
I mean, we get vulgar on this podcast, but
Holy
never like
crap.
this. Holy cow.
My number one's Alien. I was not born when it came out, but I had the pleasure to see it on Halloween night when they re-released it in theaters. And so I don't know, I just imagine like how it was back then seeing it in theaters, just how just profound it would have been. So I go Alien, I go Aliens, then I go Prometheus, then I go Romulus because I did have a good time. And then I go, that's where my Resurrection comes in. I go Resurrection because I think, again, I'll watch that if it's on anytime. Then I'll go 3. I have a soft spot for 3 because I think that was like one of the first ones I saw because I was like 6 when it came out. And so it just reminds me of like the early 90s, like the grunge, all the, you know, the bands at the time, the 9 Inch Nails, all that stuff. So I think it just like is a nostalgic hit for me. And then my last one is Covenant, but only because I hold Covenant in the same realm as the Berenstein Bears, the Fruit of the Loom logo. I am convinced that Covenant is a Mandela effect, and one day we will realize that it never existed at all, because I don't
exist,
I
Brock.
know that I've seen it, but I have no clue what the hell happens, and I don't remember watching it. And that seems to be the case for a lot of people. So I will go Alien Mandela effect for my last one.
So I'm gonna throw you a bone on this one, because we watched me and Daniel were at a local film club screening Grind Planet. We watched The Terminator, which is a great movie, by the way. And then I remembered there was another one that had come out afterwards. We talked about the sequels, and I was like, then there's Terminator Dark Fate, which came out in 2019, which is not even that long ago. And if you would put a gun to my head and say, what happened in that movie that only came out 5 years ago? I was like, well, I know Sarah Connor's back and
Must
old.
kill Sarah
And
Connor.
I know Arnold's old and back, but I was like, shit, I can't. And I know Mackenzie Davis is in it because I just love her. But I was like, I don't remember anything about that movie. So you know what? I'll give you guys a pass. I think Alien Covenant's a better movie than that, but I will give you the pass on that. Sometimes you just see movies and they evaporate.
If you do rewatch it, the dual performance between the Fassbenders,
A+.
It's seamless. Like, it's very, very good. And obviously they've gotten so much better at that over the years, but maybe one of the best ones. And if you put a gun to my head, again, 2 guns to my head.
Whoa.
What a stressful day. It's really, that stands out.
Dan's over here with 2 face huggers.
Join the club.
Yes, no guns on him.
Almost as stressful a day as these movies. I'm gonna do my podcast like in the Walter voice like this, because this is what he sounds like the whole time.
Mother, please make him stop.
All right, Laron Chapman, what is your ranking?
Alien, the first one, just because the sheer terror that it had. I mean, it was a shock and all, and it holds up. That's what's so amazing about it, is like you can watch it now and it's still as effective, Alien second. I've, as part of this conversation, have swapped to make Prometheus my third one, just because I do think the ideas are more interesting. There is a lot more to chew on there. And then immediately after that, I would put Romulus. And then Alien 3. Alien Mandela Effect, Covenant. I don't remember, but I'm not going to put it at last because it just seems like I'm putting it there because I haven't seen it. It has room to grow in front of Alien 3. That's about it, I think. But I will revisit it and come back to that. But for now, it is the second to last. And then Alien Resurrection, I don't hate. I think it's a fun time. But it is arguably the stupidest of the bunch. I mean, there's no way you can
selling point for me.
You don't have to argue that at all.
It's campy. It's silly. Like, and the thing is those are not elements that were part of anything prior. So it does feel weirdly like this, like how did we get here? Sort of thing. So, but I still like the swing. So, but it still gets last place.
So, I'm not going to say many nice things about Alien Resurrection, even though I do like it, and I think I simultaneously really like it. I think it's a very bad movie. Brock, I hate to break your heart. The swimming scene, which is very cool, the CG for the Xenomorphs in the swimming scene is very bad.
It's comparable to Romulus.
But what I will say is that will forever, until the day I die, will have the scene that I'm pretty sure has been memed and other things, where you have mutant Ripley, who's one of the failed clones, on the table just in anguish saying, kill me. Is it kind of silly? Yeah, but I saw that at a young enough age that it really just imprinted on my brain. Now, that doesn't make it a good movie, but good moment, Okay, so I was really torn. I'm going to, just to shake things up, I will say Aliens. It's really tough, though. I think both Aliens and Alien are both, they're just bona fide masterpieces in their own right. I think Alien is the granddaddy. I think it's incredible space horror. I think, bringing Sigourney Weaver into presenting her as like a star, a survivor, incredible movie. I'm only putting Aliens up there because I think a lot of the iconography associated with the franchise is actually more attributable to Aliens, which is the Space Marines. It's the
line, right?
The quotes.
All the quotes.
Yeah, we thought I always assumed it was the original, and it wasn't. It wasn't.
Get away from her, you bitch. And there's also, of course, Game Over, man.
Game over, man.
Game over.
And
Bill Paxton in that movie. And also, Bill Paxton, of course, Chef's Kiss, but also the entire supporting cast in that movie is just exceptional. So it really is a toss-up. I think both of them are home runs in their own right. And the nice thing about them is they're so different that you don't really have to choose one. But if you put a lot of guns and things to my orifices...
you missed one famous line from Aliens, Caleb.
Which one?
They mostly come at night. Mostly.
And then she says mostly again. You're like, oh, shit.
She's serious, little girl.
And you know what? There's also some bona fide great action sequences. That scene when after Ripley wakes up and they're in the when she's with Newt in the lab and the facehuggers crawling around, like that's a bona fide horror sequence inside the action movie. So.
And then them fighting all the aliens, and all you see is like the cams, and then like them like going flatlines.
Oh yeah. I'd also recommend the director's cut on that one if you can. I don't, because they have a lot of. It does make it a little slower. There's like an extra 20 minutes at the beginning, provides more context on the colonists and Ripley's daughter who died while she was in cryosleep. There's some of that stuff, but then you get the badass scene at the end where they have the turrets killing all the aliens in the hallway. That was pretty cool, and that's only in the director's cut. So highly recommend that. Okay, so Alien. I gotta go. Ah, man. I'll go Prometheus first, but you could really flip. I think they're both great. I honestly wrestled with, do I do Prometheus or Alien Covenant? I think Prometheus is really setting the stage with a lot of really big ideas of grandeur. I think that it looks incredible. That score is so underrated. Like it is criminally underrated theme, especially in an era when having a kind of a classic theme like that was not in style in 2012. So Prometheus is great. Alien Covenant is, I'm not going to lie, the first third of this movie is like, okay, we're going to speed run an alien movie so that Ridley Scott can get to the shit he actually cares about, which is, all right, yeah, but what if like David went crazy? What if David realized that he was so much better than humans and the human creation that he said, fuck all of you? Michael Fassbender is not only playing opposite of himself, and a great dual performance, by the way, he is Ozymandias from Watchmen, Frankenstein, and Frankenstein's monster, and then a touch of HAL 9000, all crammed into one character, and it is just, I'm having such a blast.
And that's the gothic horror aspect of it you were mentioning.
Yeah, I always like to say it's a gothic horror in space. Now, I want to caveat with the humans are aggressively the dumbest humans you've seen in any Aliens movie by a lot, including Resurrection.
He walks one of the crew members to the egg, and he goes, Hey, what's down there?
Look into.
And he's like, I don't know. I'm gonna have to look.
Look at that.
Oh shit! It's on my face.
I gotta do a whole podcast on that movie because I love it, but it is so stupid. It is both madly genius and stupid at the same time. You have to put up with a lot of extremely stupid, like cartoonishly stupid human stuff to get to David and a little bit of the Walter. That's really but that's when you're watching. That's clearly what Ridley Scott is honed in on. Also, it ends on a bleak as hell note with cliffhanger, and I'm like, I want that.
I heard the third one was supposed to be the space jockeys like hunting David down.
Yes,
which sounds cool.
Yeah, it does. Why I want that movie. Okay, Aliens, Alien, Prometheus, Alien Covenant. Then I'd put Alien Romulus. I think it's really good. Alien 3, I think has a lot of ideas. It is bleak as hell. Absolutely do not watch it right after finishing Aliens, where you feel like you have a triumphant, yeah! Do not watch it after that. And then, Alien Resurrection. Because who doesn't like a 90s B movie about clones? Because that was in style in the late 90s.
One thing we're missing on Prometheus that I was very excited for was the H.R. Geiger design for the space jockey.
Oh,
and you finally get to see what it was, what was in it. I was let down. Like, honestly, I was expecting more, so I was let down, but I still dug the swing of trying to talk about like why that was there and what that was. So that was that's probably why Prometheus is up there for me too, is just tackling that.
Okay. Finally answering questions in one way or another. Yeah. Well, real quickly, what other media would we recommend to listeners who maybe are interested in Alien Romulus today? Laron?
Another 80s body horror that I love, The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing. And then if you really want to get cerebral, then I would say Jonathan Glazer's Under the Skin.
Ooh, good pick.
Another one that, not enough people have seen or appreciate. So
Yeah, great recommendation there. Jonathan Glazer, who just directed last year's the Zone of Interest.
Yep.
Yeah. Except for this is way more sci-fi than that one. Nathan Poppe, what would you recommend?
Scavenger's Reign.
Ooh, yes.
It is some sci-fi for you. There's definitely some body horror elements. The craziest thing about that is literally everything is trying to kill you. So if you like that element from your Alien movies, that's definitely in there. It also happens to be just like gorgeous, real heartfelt. Man, it floored me. And so if you're hungry for some more sci-fi and like where every kind of move matters, then I would highly suggest that. There's lots of high stakes. It's fantastic.
Yeah, so Scavenger's Reign is a 2D hand-drawn animated series that originally debuted on Max. This is back when it was
The
originally
place to watch HBO.
Yeah, that's yeah, exactly. That's exactly the one to watch for HBO.
Yes.
For now, it is now on Netflix, and the hope now is that if we all just watch it on Netflix, that Netflix will save the show for a second season. Fantastic sci-fi though. Not enough people saw that. I think it's a great recommend, Nathan. So now available on Netflix or Max. Scavenger Drink, I recommend. Daniel Bokemper.
Yeah, we talked about Don't Breathe quite a bit. So for more Fede Alvarez, I would recommend Don't Breathe, the film about 3 cat burglars fucking around and finding out with a blind Vietnam vet played by Stephen Lang in their attempts to take his money, I think. And then the other thing would be a video game. You mentioned Ellen Ripley's daughter earlier, Amanda Ripley. Alien Isolation, the film where Amanda Ripley tries to find out what happened to her mama, and she finds out that it was Xenomorph happened to her mama, and it's a first-person video game where you're just hiding from a Xenomorph for about 12 hours.
And it's terrifying. I've actually played this game.
It's good.
Fede listed that as an inspiration. He's played the game and listed as an inspiration for the movie. Yeah.
Yes, I wish that had a little more to do with this movie, because he kind of loses that a little bit, but either way, I like it. Very atmospheric, really smart AI too with the Xenomorph. And then my last thing is that I like to recommend is a documentary, Dark Star, H.R. Geiger's World. So you can find out a lot more about the artist who really set the aesthetic for the Alien movies. I mean, you look at listen to interviews and you hear like, old for interviews with like Dan O'Bannon, and he's like, yeah, our idea for the face hugger originally was an octopus that attaches to your face. And like H.R. Geiger is like, well, that's a good idea, but what if you give it bony fingers and lungs and a long tail like a whip scorpion or something?
And a ball sack.
And a ball sack too. Yeah. And it goes through your face. Yeah.
What a monster.
They're like, okay, let's let you just take this show, Geiger. And I think it's also just, it just speaks to his legacy. Because it's not just Xenomorphs. I mean, he is a lifelong artist. It's just people know him for, he's one of those artists that you look at a piece of art, it's Geiger, but biomechanical. Yeah. But it's like most people know the Xenomorph is what they're going to attribute to him, but he has a whole lot more art going on. So yeah, I would say, again, that one was Dark Star, H.R. Geiger's World.
Awesome. Great recommends there. Broccoli.
For other horror space movies, I recommend Event Horizon, which I really like and still holds up.
Danny took mine. That's a great movie.
And then for the book, the last 20 minutes of the movie reminded me a lot of the book The Strain. It was also a TV series, which was okay, but the book by Guillermo del Toro and Chuck Hogan, it's a trilogy, is a very good read, and it's pretty awesome.
Are we allowed to say what The Strain's about?
It is about it's about vampires.
Some wild ass vampires.
Too scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm out.
Nope.
Yeah, I'm out.
It's a fantastic book.
Well, The Strain. Fun. I watched the show. I haven't read the book, so I'll have to check out the book. Great recommend there. You guys took mine. Event Horizon was top of my list. Creepy space horror. What if you go so deep into space that you accidentally travel through hell? And what consequences would that wreak among the crew? I think it's a great recommend, Brock. I'd also throw out The Fly, body horror. And we just saw when I was walking to the theater, I saw a poster for a 2-day event coming up for the Fly at AMC, and I was like, ooh, that's a movie that's deeply scarred me when I was a kid that I don't know that I could bring myself to watch as an adult. Like, just super creepy body horror, orifices everywhere, things tearing out of ooze. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it is a depressing movie.
Oh,
though.
yeah.
Like it is a really
guys. The
sad
'80s
film.
was a depressing time for big budget movies.
Yeah.
Watch that and the
I
thing.
still
back to
I
back.
consider it a romance.
Really
A devastating
That is
romance. Yeah.
painful, but awesome.
What kind of romance? A romance?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, he likes
it's a
the
love
lady.
story.
Yeah.
It's a love
is.
story.
It's a love story.
It's just a tragic one. Yeah.
Okay, so I got to watch it with that lens because maybe I'll be less depressed about it. I mean,
No, you won't. You'll be more upset. Yeah.
All right. Well, those are our alternate media recommendations for Alien Romulus. If you don't want to be spoiled on the movie, go ahead and tune out now.
Well, that's great. That's just fucking great, man. Now what the fuck are we supposed to do? We're some real pretty shit now, man.
You finished?
I'm sorry, Newt.
You don't have to be sorry. It wasn't your fault.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do?
Maybe we could build a fire, sing a couple of songs, huh? Why don't we try that?
We better get back.
All right, so I want to kick things off by talking about the strengths and drawbacks of remixing Alien's greatest hits for Romulus. So, of course, as noted, this is the first film released by Disney since the 20th Century Fox merger. And even though it has the 20th Century Studios logo on it, this is definitely a Disney production. And unlike previous Alien movies that typically had a lot of different really auteur-driven ideas, I would say, good, bad, and ugly, by the way, this is the first entry that really feels like, oh, we're going to directly homage and sort of like celebrate the things that have come before by reincorporating very specific lines or set pieces and other franchise elements into the modern context. So I don't know. I want to turn to you guys. What do you guys think about this film playing the greatest hits from previous entries? Is it a pro or con, bug, feature? And Nathan Poppe, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think we've all said the word fan service at one point in this podcast. And yeah, sometimes that can be lame, but man, I love hearing people call that alien a bitch. Like, I love it. I don't think that could have been every line of the movie, and I would have been like, yes, stick it to him. Yeah, I think that when it's done with so much love and when it's wrapped in with so many fantastic details, it just makes it go down easier. Yeah, might not always make it the most interesting thing on the in this galaxy, but yeah, if you're going to pick something to homage, you could do a lot worse.
Yeah. All right. So it sounds like it's a pro overall. More the pros definitely outweigh the cons. Laron, Chapman, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I think I echo that. I feel like as much as they were there, they just didn't bother me as much as they normally do in other movies. And I think it's because in between those moments, there were these sustained moments of suspense. There were these great set pieces, and there were these two really new, fantastic characters to follow. And so there was enough new here for me to engage with, for me not to get bogged down about how many times they did the see what I did there, sort of thing. And the see what I did there's were pretty good. I thought they were pretty good recreations. Sometimes when you do that, if it's a lesser than sort of thing, then that's really what's bugging, is that you see that it's, it feels cheapened that way. But they really did go for these moments, and they still had verve. So
did you catch the cameo of the little water bird that dips up and
yes,
down?
I did.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. At the very beginning of the movie, I think I was the only person I felt like I was Leo. I was like, oh, and like when I was watching it with Lauren, I was like, see it? And she's like, we just watched it. 'Cause I think that's one of those you'd only catch it if you had just seen the other movies relatively recently. It's such a very specific thing. Love it.
I had the theater pause it, and I got in front of everybody and explained to them. Now, this might not seem interesting on the surface, but this little guy. Now, hold on, sir. Sit back down.
Caleb didn't even have him pause it. He just stood up and started shouting at the whole time to talk on the screen.
Look at that. I get that reference. I get it.
I love that guy.
Yeah, no, I think I tend to like, I'm very selective here. I like those references. I even like I can even deal with the recreation of the one famous shot from Alien 3 that everyone remembers, where the Xenomorph gets all close to her face. I think when they start reciting the lines is when I started to get that gave me a little bit of heartburn. Didn't ruin it, but I was like,
there was a beat though but no,
Totally different. Yeah.
Yeah.
so different.
Yeah.
That pause made it
The speech impediment came back. Just
Yeah.
Brock, what did you think about the reuse, the remix here?
It destroyed me. You could have left it with just the white and red Reeboks, and I'd have been like, dope, super cool. But then they were like, hey, let's do Alien. Let's do Aliens. Let's do Aliens again. Let's do Aliens again. Let's do Alien 3. Let's do Resurrection. Let's do Prometheus. I'm sure Covenant's in there, but I don't fucking remember Covenant.
there.
They forgot to, too. They were like, oh, wait, we missed one.
It's absolutely there.
So imagine you have this friend in high school, and he's like the coolest guy to you, and you guys go on all these adventures and do all this cool shit, and then he goes off and lives his life, and you come back at the high school 20th reunion, and you know his life because he's done just epic shit, and you're like, tell me what you've done. And he starts telling this captivating story, and he's like, and he harkens back to like some shit from high school. You're like, yeah, cool. Tell me the story. And he starts telling the story, and you're like, oh, what happens next? Like, oh, like that time in class. And you're like, yeah, I was fucking there with you.
Yeah.
Tell the story. And so,
tell me how you made $1 billion.
That's
like, what I want to know.
You want to know what this guy's been up to, and you want to hear these original stories that he's had without you. You don't know what's happening, and that's how this movie felt. It felt like a guy that would not shut the fuck up about cool stuff that happened in the past whenever they're doing something cool right here. And so it really took me out every time. Right, there was suspenseful moments, so that was fine. But it's like, what could it have been had they not tried to do these little winks and nods in all of these things? And that's what really took me out of the movie. And that's why it became a C+, because I'm just like, oh man, like with Evil Dead, you did not that I noticed any of that. I mean, yes, there were the main like drivers of the story that you need to have for an Evil Dead movie, but you didn't do too many callbacks where it like completely takes you out of it.
It was distinctive enough.
Well, and the biggest thing with that one especially was once they got through all the stuff that you did kind of remember about Evil Dead, they had like an entire like POV change, like fourth act, which they kind of have in this movie until you're like, wait, oh, this is just Alien Resurrection again.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah. Well, and interestingly with Evil Dead, like the first time I saw it, I actually hated it.
Me too.
I hated it.
I did too. I hated it.
I
walked out and
like,
was like, I
this
hate
is
that
not
movie.
my Evil Dead. What is this bullshit? And then I sat with it and then rewatched it. I think, I don't know, maybe like 5 years later. It was a while though. And I don't know, I just had an urge. I was kind of drawn back to it. And I remember like finally appreciating what he did, because he did take some big swings. And it's just that it wasn't campy. It's like, it doesn't have the, that undertone, that comedic undertone.
Yeah, this is like the opposite though, where it leans back into what people want.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, that's for me. That was my take.
No, I agree. Yeah.
Daniel Bokemper, be the voice of reason here.
You should never expect that from me. I can't really follow up Brock's analogy. I think that
who could
hits. Yeah, not me for sure. But I'll try. That really does resonate with me. I think there's just very distinct moments where I'm like, man, this film is doing something for itself, and and it does. Nathan's right too. It's got to be a little familiar. Like it's got to have something there, or why is this even a part of this franchise?
Right.
So it does have to have a little bit of that, but I think there is a balance, and I think this one definitely veers a little too far into the like dependence on those old films, and there's just moments where I'm like, I don't even know why. And again, the line itself, "Stay away from her, you bitch," is funny, but like in this context, it didn't, like, I guess it was the point of it in his delivery. He's like, "Stay away from her, you bitch," and it's like, yes, I know
that the movie like paused for a beat after he said it too.
It
just
did,
like, because I knew people were going to be probably cheering.
Yeah, and it's I guess so, but it's like no one reacted in our. I heard a groan.
I heard some.
I heard a groan.
I heard a couple groans.
And that's where I'm like, I don't know. It's just those things kind of like take away from it, and then we'll get a little bit more into this character, but I'm gonna go ahead and just mention it because we've been kind of dancing around it. The character of Rook is a recreation of Ian Holmes' character Ash from the original Alien. But they also use Ian Holmes' likeness, which we'll get into a little bit more. But at the same time, I'm also like, you already have Mother. You already have a droid. why are we resurrecting this particular character when you already just established that, hey, you can pull out little like memory trips from these droids, put them in another droid's head, and then that adds a wrinkle to a character that I think is enough. And so I think it gets a little congested when it's like we simultaneously want to have this, allusion to Ash here, but then we also have Andy, who's a really compelling character, and he's kind of becoming more fulfilling. He's like kind of the surrogate for that role, and he's kind of fulfilling that purpose. But then we still have Ash as the evil robot, and then we have Andy as the conflicted robot. And I'm like, you see where I mean? Where it's like that's when references start to take away from the succinct plot it already had, that I wish it just kind of pursued a bit more. And I think that's the difference. And maybe I am a little like triggered because the last movie I saw before that was Deadpool versus Wolverine. And I get that the whole point of that film is it's like built on references a little bit, but it also felt very kitchen sinky to the point where it's like you had like 3 other entire films in there. And if you had just a little bit of restraint, you could have like extended, a lot of this humor and a lot of this other stuff and still give this character life later down the road. And that's where I'm like, I don't know. I feel like there's just a lot of wasted motion in this one, where I felt like there were so many instances, like Brock said, where it was really strong on its own. And again, it's a personal thing. I don't think everyone is going to react as viscerally to this stuff, but I think I think what hurts me the most is more of it's just a disappointment because I kept seeing like missed opportunities. Maybe because I'm like trying to fantasy book the film that I wanted to see, but I just think that like some of these references and some of the insistence on having these things do start to derail the plot. And in the derailed development of Andy is where I feel like that's most egregious.
Weyland-Yutani wanting to bring the stuff back to home base again. I'm like, okay.
So and not to be the Prometheus guy at the table here.
Too late.
But I will say, and I've been really thinking about the distinctions in between the things that I liked and what I didn't like, because I actually thought that the way they reincorporated the Prometheus stuff was a nice touch, because it was more like they were, if you're gonna do a inter-equal whatever the frick this is, I liked that it brought a connective tissue to the original films from the Prometheus films that we had never seen before. I mean, we know, if you've watched them all, you know it's in the same universe, but it's like, oh no, they actually those stories got brought back to Weyland, and they were actually actively hunting the Xenomorphs, which you kind of know watching the movies, but they're never explicit about why. They're just like, it's the perfect organism, we've got to have it. Well, like, why do you have it? Oh, it's because it's got this like crazy pathogen in it that you can use to create like mutant people that could go be the best miners. I'm like, okay, that's not necessarily new, but they're connecting a couple dots that I felt like had been disconnected up until that point. Again, because before in the original 4 movies, it's like, well, why do we want the Xenomorph? Well, they're the perfect organism. We have to have there's not really a clear explanation other than the militarization of the species, why they would want them. Here, it's like, no, they have a very specific business case for why they want said resource. So I thought that was a nice touch. But then it's like when you get to we're going to say this exact line. Yes, we're going to bring this character back. Likeness of a character back. It could have literally been any character.
Any android.
Any android could have brought back, I don't know, people who aren't dead, like Lance Hendrickson or Michael Fassbender, probably too expensive for both of them. Could have just been another British actor.
Not Lance.
Yeah, say Lance would be like, I'm there.
No, I've worked on a couple B movies with Lance. He'll do anything. But yes.
He could have passed the torch to Elijah Wood.
Yeah, seriously. Come on. I mean, I'm down. Cast
Be there for it.
some British actor, any British actor would do. I mean, it just
Michael Fassbender.
What a young up and comer.
So I don't know. I guess I'm gonna say I'm kind of picking and choosing. There are the ones I like, which is the more kind of connective tissue in terms of like that is the little bit of the lore building, which is not typically a thing I value in the movies, but having just watched all of them, I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. So it fits together. There's the ones that are the visual homages that I'm like, okay. There's literally a shot where she walks off the elevator holding the gun identically to Ripley from Aliens.
With wind blowing that was not previously blowing.
Yes, correct. And it feels that
nostalgic air.
That's where, to your point, Brock, that's where it just takes you out of the movie. Yeah. So that stuff I'm dislike, but I'll just say I'm neutral on. And then there's like, oh no, we're just gonna say lines and play sequences that you've seen before, and it's a problem.
I'm not being funny or an asshole. I'm very surprised. Then I was like waiting for Game Over Man to come out somewhere because they were playing, like you
So
said,
heavily.
the greatest hit. So I
Yeah.
really was like, where are they going to fit this in at what moment? So
That was the line you didn't hear that when she threw the mutant baby out the thing? That was what she said, right?
Game over, man.
No, to the film's credit, we get a couple cool new things. I did think the acid for blood dripping through that one asshole was pretty. We'd never
British
seen.
asshole.
Yeah, exactly. Oh,
was cool.
of
That was
course.
cool.
Yeah, I'd never seen that before. That was pretty cool.
yeah, okay.
Oh,
I thought
frankly,
you were
all that.
talking about Bokemper's birthday thing again. Okay, yeah. Sorry.
What happened at this party?
A lot.
You wouldn't believe.
You don't want to know.
Yeah, the mean guy who hates
who's
the
an asshole to
androids.
androids. Yeah, but I mean, like, frankly, Acid for Blood was the way that was the most inventive because they got at least two good sequences out of it. They got that guy's death, and then they got the whole
The iconic one that I think will be the moment for this film.
the zero gravity
Zero
acid
gravity.
blood. That wasn't cool.
Yeah,
That
was very cool.
and that was new, by the way.
No,
So,
totally. It was awesome. I thought it was awesome.
yeah. So it does. I want to give it credit where it's due, but Brock, to your point, that's the stuff that I'm like, okay. If I'm doing a series rewatch, it's gonna stick out like a sore thumb, and I'll be like, "Oh, okay, this is the moment we're just gonna like go back to it." I mean, I don't know about you guys. What'd you think of the mutant baby at the end? Last 20 minutes.
I dug it. I really thought that was just a twisted out. That's the part that felt like that Fede to me. That's the part that felt like, okay, this is the cool thing he got to do. You know,
Fede's like, "I'll put that line in if you let me."
if you let me
have this mutant baby.
Yeah, the 8 foot.
Bob Iger, I will give you however many lines you want in this movie. Just let me have.
And I know it was effective because the first time you see it, like when they do that cut to it, and it's just sitting like hanging in the I don't know the foyer, and I remember that everyone just goes, "Oh shit!"
The whole audience,
like it's like what the because that's not what you're expecting, you know. Like so, I mean, so that's the big swing here. I feel like, and it even again, it's not like a huge swing because there is elements of this in the other films, but not done with that kind of monster creature design that they kind of really realized very beautifully.
Felt very Cronenberg.
That's
in that way.
where I get the strain connection from. Is that?
Yeah. And that was just a very effective monster creature design for me. Yeah,
I'd agree. And it had a little bit of the engineers in there, even like the
Well, that's why it's a what is it? It's a hybrid alien baby of Resurrection and Prometheus.
Yes.
So Laron, you better move up Resurrection in your rankings since you like that.
Number
At
one.
least two. Yeah, one. Or one.
Your argument's valid. Number one.
It's
Nathan,
where it all started, guys. So,
well, Nathan, what did you? I mean, you seem like you were in for it the whole time. What did you think of the last 20 minutes in particular?
Oh yeah, hell yeah. I was looking forward to it because pretty much I avoided spoilers, but everybody was like, buckle up for the last 15 minutes, which I'm just like, all right. So I had my seatbelt on. The gravity hallway scene was excellent. Like that was pretty ingenious. Just was not expecting that to happen. It's just it was like Aliens, seen in Aliens on crack. Like it's just ridiculous. You're getting those things blasted and then the immediate consequences of that. Pretty ingenious.
Great setup and payoff too, right? Like they set that up at the beginning of the movie and you kind of forget about it, and then boom. Oh wait, pivotal moment in the film. Right. That's cool.
it felt like a video game. We kept saying like this is the video game challenge here. If I ever saw one,
Yeah.
swim around
the underwater level.
Oh, I would have
Everyone loves.
flown directly through it just to see what happens. Yeah, that's the only thing that's unrealistic. You wouldn't just like hawk loogies into it to see what happens.
If you've ever played a motion control game, i.e. the Nintendo Wii or the PlayStation 3, 4, 5, and you've played the sequence at some point where you're like, oh, landing your controller, you're like, oh no. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was in a WarioWare game.
I'm confident. I'm confident. But anyway, sorry, continue, Nathan.
Yeah, that was super tasty. Enjoyed that. And then into meeting our new baby, which we could have just called this one Alien Long Legs, and it would have been more accurate than the real long leg.
He remembered to wear.
He did wear his.
He did wear the long legs, and they were actually long this time.
Super duper long. Yeah, that thing freaked me out. I'll definitely be thinking about that weirdo's face. It took me a minute to realize that, yeah, it definitely, that is a callback to Prometheus, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Huge ball with the big black eyes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was not expecting to see that face jump in. So that was a nice touch. But yeah, I think that was a fun way to just fireworks show. Let's hit them with everything. And then, of course, we do have to blast it out of the
Every
airlock
time.
per tradition.
Yep.
As it is written.
Every movie except for Alien 3 and Prometheus, they fire the alien out of the... Well, it's either out of the air, like gets sucked into space somehow, one way or another.
What's going to stop them from going out and finding it again like they did last time? That was also the thing at the very beginning. They could catch that big space turd, and I'm like, what's in there?
Mm-hmm.
And what's stopping them from doing it again?
Also, I guess they fossilize when they've been in space for 200 or
everybody knows
20
that.
years. Okay,
Yeah.
All right, okay, that's just me. I didn't pay attention in class that day. Well,
there's a perfect organism. They're also, not a lot of people know this, delicious. If you ever get the chance to try xenomorph meat, the forbidden meat is what I like to call it.
I gotta try that sometime.
It's
Acid
good.
blood salsa verde.
It's a palate cleanser.
Pretty spicy.
I do like spicy food.
Oh shit!
Drop out while you're done.
Worth it.
Oh my god, Daniel Bokemper, last 20 minutes. What say you?
Yeah, so okay, I'm not going to keep going on about this, but initially, Brock and
But I will.
But I will. Yes, but I must. Brock and I did talk about this a little bit earlier today, how it does kind of just intentionally recreate the end of Alien, where, Ellen Ripley gets in the, after she's banging around the cat's kennel, like kicking it. Which I wish we had a cat cam in that movie. Like, that would be the one edit where the cat's just like...
In fact, make that the video game. Make that next video game.
Yeah, it's Stray, but...
It's Stray, but an alien.
Yeah. But yeah, they kind of get to all of that. Like, she gets in her jammies and stuff, and something's just not quite right. But then it gets really unique with it. And I do think both the birth and then the creature that emerges from it is really cool. My one edit, though, is if they were going to make the perfect, like... mining organism, like the perfect like human hybrid that's capable of mining. I wish its tail had like a little pickaxe and it like came out with like an orange vest and it's got like a thermos too? It turns around after it's just like sucked its mother's dry and it's just like Mondays, am I right? Bouse, and it's just like, and then they just go out in space. It just becomes a buddy comment. Like she's like,
That's the sequel, Dan.
I need somebody on my crew like you.
That's the swing you guys are going to get next time.
Yeah. I can't wait.
Yeah. But no, I really liked it. I thought the creature design was like really, really cool. It was definitely creepy. I do look like that. It looked like vaguely like an engineer. I wish we kind of had more of it. I almost would have said I would have gotten rid of every xenomorph beyond the first in this film if it was just single xenomorph, and then if you want to like have your batshit crazy ending be the alien human hybrid. But as much as it hurts me to say, I do think the creature design does look a little better than the alien human hybrid and Alien Resurrection. Just by
and more threatening too. I kept telling Daniel this because I was like, in Alien Resurrection, if you watch it, that thing actually doesn't. It kills one dude, and it's like a Muppet swiping its claw, and then
it looks like a baby.
Yeah, it's pathetic, and then it gets. I mean, its death is pretty brutal, but
yeah.
Well,
but
okay,
I will say just the one thing about the ending 20 minutes is I know alien films aren't like trying to make a lot of sense all the time. I get it, but like, so she's hanging on the chain, getting pulled because of the gravitational pull, gets rid of the alien, ejects it, and ejects the entire cargo hold to get rid of the alien, and then climbs herself back up.
Yeah.
I feel like that was a moment where it made sense to have like Andy. So like earlier in the sequence,
she was doing arm day. Daniel, what do you want to say?
I know she's CrossFit capable, but I'm like, so
she had to work up to beat out. She had to beat up Elvis somehow.
But there's no gravity, so like, wouldn't it be easier?
No, because she was getting pulled into the rings. The rings, dude. Yeah. It makes total sense. But no, what I'm saying is like, okay, so Andy earlier, he has a moment, and I know he kind of like pseudo saves her, but he's like trying to hold up the elevator, and then he's just not strong enough. Like his droid just can't, and it falls, and then he does.
Lance Hendrickson's would have been able to do it.
Save her, he would have. Yeah, that's the thing. Need more of that. But when Andy, like, I feel like I know he went into the cryo, like she put him into cryo sleep or like hooked him up, and it was like, you need to recharge or something. And like, I get that, but like, I felt like that moment would have been earned more if it was like him pulling her up, not to take away from that character's strength, but to like more tighten the bond of those two characters. I feel like that would have been a better, I don't know.
I feel like that was whenever he jumped and landed on the alien.
They paid that off too early.
In the elevator scene before he said that. But then this is what got me there, is he killed that alien, blood is there, after they just had the elevator plug the hole from everything being sucked out. Wouldn't that acid have eaten through that and then created another vacuum as they're climbing up out of that damn thing?
Yes.
Okay.
It was a slow burn.
That took me out of it. One thing about the last 20 minutes that was cool and different. Anytime you're in a space movie or something, they're like, auto, let's the auto destroy the ship or whatever, that like it counts down. It's like the ship will, the self-destruct sequence will go in T- this many minutes. I really like the fact that they were losing altitude and we're going to go into the rings of the planet, which was a new spin on something that
was cool too.
Time and not doing something where that's going to just, self-destruct the ship. I really like that. And I like that it was not like asteroids or rocks that are creating the thing, but it looked like ice. I don't know. Yeah. So it's just that was a moment that was like, oh, that's visually cool. Visually, that's a very new idea.
I love the scene where you see her hanging out. You see the rings, and in the backdrop, you see the original ship, like still getting destroyed.
Like it's like a damn sanding machine, and it's just sanding the ship down as it's going.
That's cool. Yeah, nice touch.
Man, all of the space stuff in this movie really was.
It was good.
Neat.
Yeah, I like it all. All the space stuff. Again, production design, like all that stuff is just top notch. The only thing I have to say is, and again, going back to what I was saying earlier about the setups and the payoffs, the nice thing about having a horror director here, it's like either a horror or comedy director. They just get setups and payoffs. And I am never going to forget. And both times I saw this movie, the reaction was the same. Whenever, what's her name with the pregnant woman's like, I just can't wait to let this baby see the sun. And everyone's like, oh,
now we know it won't.
You know that's not going to happen.
Ma'am.
Now, did I imagine
you know what movie you're in?
Well, and then it's Fede Alvarez directed. You're like, oh, he's mean. He's a mean motherfucker. You don't like, it's going to be bad. But I also was still not prepared for the mutant baby look. No. Again, even though it is kind of retreading a similar thing that we saw in Alien Resurrection, it definitely was executed flawlessly in my opinion. And it was a great sequence overall. Not much more to add than what you guys have said. Less fan service, more originality, but hey, it was a great ride. All right, last topic we have time for today. We have to talk about it. This is reusing a dead actor's likeness to bridge continuity. So most controversially, Alien Romulus used the likeness of the late Ian Holm, who passed away in 2020 as Rook, to call back to the untrustworthy android Ash from the original Alien. Daniel already noted this. This was a digital recreation of Holmes' likeness, both the look and the voice, performed by actor Daniel Betts. So I just want to read this little excerpt from Fede Alvarez. He's been asked about, as you can imagine, he's been asked about this on the press tour quite a bit. He said, and I don't know if this is going to make you feel better or worse about it, and these are actually two separate excerpts. The first excerpt is from The Hollywood Reporter. He said, in terms of the why did we do it? It was unfair that the likeness of Ash was never used again. Lance Hendrickson had been used a few times. Michael Fassbender got to do it a few times. Alvarez continues. So when we started thinking about the likeness of this character with Ridley, it was going to be a torso and a head that we would build. So it didn't need to be the likeness of a current working actor. And Ridley was the one who said Ash was always the best. He needs to make a comeback. So apparently this is Ridley Scott's idea. Separate interview.
It's not my fault. It's Ridley.
That's actually a pretty clever way to slide it in there.
Throw it on your executive producer.
Mm-hmm. And in a separate interview with the LA Times, related to maybe the potential concerns you would have about bringing a dead actor back to life digitally, Holmes' widow, Sophie Stempel, I'm saying it wrong, but Holmes' widow, who felt that he would have loved to have been a part of this, Alvarez said, we did it all with a lot of respect and always with the authorization of his family, his children, and his widow, who said we would love to see his likeness again. And again, he passed away about 4 years ago. So I just have to, with all that information on the table in terms of understanding, the two things I'm always asking is like, why did they have to use it, or why did they choose to use it? And especially when it, is the deceased, what did the family have to say about it? We understand those two things. With that in mind, what do you think about the incorporation of the character Rook as part of the story? Broccoli.
I thought it was unnecessary for having such beautiful, effects, practical effects, the effects of space that seemed really well done that we've spoken up before. This is the only one that really stuck out like a sore thumb. And after the movies, you guys even said that was some of the best, facial CGI I've seen. I haven't seen much. So that was like some of my first time seeing it. And it took me completely. I was like, this is so unnecessary. They could have driven the plot without him. It still would have made sense. As Bokemper has said with you had, Andy, and then you had the disc that you could switch in and out. So it could have been anybody there. I don't know, or Mother and any of that. So I don't know, unnecessary, and it just completely took me out of it. It was done respectfully, though. I don't think it was like, done like shoddily or, with ill intention. I think it was done well. I just didn't like it myself.
Daniel, what do you think?
I mean, it feels better in that, like, yes, you have explicit permission from his estate and supposedly Ian Holm. I think in the Big Picture podcast, you were mentioning this. He does an interview, and he this is what Rod shared with me earlier today, was that apparently Ian Holm wanted to actually be in another Alien
according
movie.
to Fede I actually just finished that interview earlier today.
Yes.
According to Fede, that he really wanted to be back in the Alien franchise.
Yes. So, but that's great. Still doesn't make this, like, it still doesn't really validate the presence of this character, because it just feels like really kind of unnecessary. And it's also like, it's nonsensical, like, to me. Like, it doesn't make sense. Why does this droid look exactly like Ash? Like, they just ran out of molds, I guess, and they had to keep using the same one. Like, I don't really get what I
think the justification's there. I mean, from a world building perspective,
I don't think the justification. Well, like, that they made models of the same android that looked.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that with Bishop already.
Yeah,
we've seen a couple of.
I know, and David, and yeah. But like, I guess I get that, but I don't get why it's like needed. And again, I feel like Andy was already your vehicle to do a lot of that stuff. And really, it's not the droids; it's Mother that is the more, and by extension, Weyland-Yutani, that is the kind of the driving force. And I think you already had. I don't know. I just feel like they started setting up a really compelling character in Andy, and I'm basically driving back to this criticism in that, in the absence of Rook, you could have made the character of Andy significantly stronger. And that's more what I'm getting at, is I don't feel like this callback, and even if it is honoring Ian Holm, that's nice. That feels like what the intent more so is to celebrate this character, I guess, and give him one last like hurrah or something. But even then, it feels bad, and it didn't look good. And so it's like,
it looked great.
I don't think it looked good.
Man,
it was weird.
I don't think it looked good.
Have you guys seen Star Wars Rogue One? Peter Cushing looks freaking terrible in that movie. This looks believable.
Yeah, I wasn't about to say that. Rogue One was the good example.
Comparing doesn't mean it's.
Well, I guess
that's what I mean,
when
because
I was
it looks
talking about
relative.
How good it was. I'm like thinking about, I've seen this done before, and usually even when you can tell it costs a lot of money, you're like, oh, but I can immediately tell that this is not, like, they got the eyes right, which is usually the dead giveaway on these things, where and the way they were able to use him and distort it. I mean, like, there's a couple scenes you get him head on, but like they distort him in such a way often that it makes it less obvious that he's CG. And I'm not going to I actually think, as creatively, I think it was a bad choice, but I will say technically I thought it was pretty impressive.
But if he's not even voicing him, then the spirit's kind of gone. You're just using his body as a vessel. So why wouldn't you have just created like a bust of him and like done like practical effects to create something for Ian Holm, and then just taking his chip? And like, oh, he was in it. That's why David's the way he is.
Kind of, yeah. I think that's a pretty good idea.
I want to say creatively, I think they could have literally used any, like I already said earlier, any other actor, any other version, or whichever one do. I do think that character, I won't go all the way to your point, Daniel. I do think having someone there to be a stand-in for the company that's separate from Andy provides a valuable face to the kind of mischievous, malicious threat of the company that's not Andy. So I kind of like that there is someone there, but it didn't have to. Anyway, Nathan, I'll turn to you. What did you think of such a choice?
So that was one of the things that was like halfway spoiled for me. So I did see it, like, you'll know that this character showing up in the way that it is going to be the first thing people talk about. So I was kind of like half expecting for this to pop up, and when it did take me out of the movie a little bit. I will be perfectly honest. I was like, oh, this is what they were talking about. And maybe it is probably the most Disney thing about all of this.
100%.
Because when you kind of listed some of the other movies that have used this, Tron, Guardians of the Galaxy, Indiana Jones, what do we all have in common?
Yeah,
here?
Rogue One, is another one, yeah.
So we're all, this is the I don't know why Disney is so obsessed with using it, other than it's just like, did you miss him? Did you miss him so much?
Yeah, we can bring him back.
They're forcing our hand. They're trying to, I feel like.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but it's probably the best it's ever been. But at the same time, I don't know why they needed to use it so much. I did also prefer how it looked on the screens.
Yeah.
When he popped up later on in the film.
Yeah, that filter.
That would have been fine by me.
I'm here to help you.
Yeah. Right. Oh, tight. Because everything's been trying to kill me.
Do you want to let your friends die for no
I'll take
reason?
anything,
Yeah.
even a false promise at this point. So.
Yeah, lie to me, please.
Come over here. I'm gonna. By the way, look into this egg.
Look
real
at
quick. All right, but yeah, it was a distraction, not the worst one in the world, but I would have just found a way to use less of that, because once the chip's in there, you're good. You don't even need them. So
yeah,
just a little extraneous for sure. Wish they would have cut back on it.
It's a little so you agree that it's the best it's ever looked, but also it's a terrible idea. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I agree with that sentiment, by the way. Laron Chapman, what do you say?
I mean, it feels tone deaf to me, honestly. I mean, I just think that I mentioned it in the theater, like we just did an entire strike about this, you know what I mean? So it kind of feels weird.
Yeah.
And admittedly, we did get a couple of, like you said, we got the blessing of the family. Okay. But it does still feel like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like we're like, how do we can't have our cake and eat it too. Like, are we pushing this? Are we fighting against it? He's not here to speak for himself. So it kind of feels a little icky to me, personally. But I'd be more forgiving of it if I felt like it was a net positive. You know what I mean? Like, I don't actually feel like it added anything to the story, really. I mean, outside of the first initial, oh, that's Homeboy. But like outside of that, like you said, it could have been any android and the story would have been totally fine. So it doesn't feel like it was a necessary choice to make, given how much attention this particular creative choice is going to get. It doesn't seem like it's yielding, you know what I mean, positive here. So,
well, that's what I'm at too. I guess if there had been a strong enough case from a story perspective for why they needed to do that, I could get on board with it. But it just sounds like they're like, oh, we got an android that's here. Who can we throw up there? What if we chose the dead guy? Disney likes bringing dead people back. Yeah, let's do that. That in fact, Bobby I is probably going to be on board.
It's like it's like you went out of your way to offend people instead of just doing something else that could have offended them on accident. This actually felt like you probably knew somebody was going to have an opinion about this.
How did he even survive?
So no, it's a different different
that's
android, same model.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm back.
Yeah. No, but I get it though, because actually that was the same the Xenomorph that's dead in the ship when they get there initially is the OG Xenomorph.
And I almost think if they were able to find any of the wreckage of the Nostromo, which blows up 3 times in Alien, and that's kind of weird, but
Not only did they recover it, they recover the one that has the name on it.
Yeah, they recovered pieces of it. That's
Here it is.
Yeah. Oh, we found it. How are we going to know it's the right ship? Has its name on it. Yes. Yeah. But we used really good paint. But like, that's what I mean is like, I guess there's another way where you could have even like, there's almost like a roundabout way where even that character, Ash, could have come back as just a completely decimated droid.
No, dude.
Barely clinging on.
I'm sorry.
But you don't have to use even... the Xenomorph came back. The Xenomorph.
Now, he's turbo dead. Before the ship blows up 3 times,
they do set him on fire.
Yeah, and you see him melt on camera. He's dead. He's dead. Yeah.
I got better.
Yeah, I got better. I learned from the Xenomorphs.
Nathan, I guess to your point, though, to put a finer point on it, I don't think... listen, there's always trade-offs when you do these sorts of things. Again, serves the story very well. Okay, what are the sacrifices you have to make? Well, we have to do some potentially ethically questionable stuff, but if it lands, people won't care. In this case, I don't think it was not a justified trade-off in any way. And I just give living actors work. I don't know, like what else needs to be said. It wasn't. This felt like the most Disney decision in the whole movie by a all my complaints about the fan service out there, that's the thing that I'm like, this feels like a Disney decision that they said you got to do it, or someone at Disney said, hey Ridley, I know you want that third Michael Fassbender movie. So how about you go talk Betty into
Here's the trade-off.
putting that
Digital
CG
necrophilia.
So yeah, I think it's a net negative on the film though. Real very quickly, because we've been going on for longer than the runtime of the movie at this point.
Oh, good.
What do you guys want to see from the Alien movie next? And I'll start with you, birthday boy Daniel Bokemper.
Man, I know this idea has probably been done in some capacity and maybe many capacities, but I really just want a boy and his dog, but a boy and his xenomorph, where this like kid in the colonies is having just down on his luck. And
did you not see Alien 3?
Nobody likes it. Listen, nobody likes him, and then he finds like a halfway smashed egg and emerges from it a face hugger that's not very good at face hugging. And he
body hugs.
It's okay, but he's just trying, and he's like, no. And like at first, the face hugger is trying to like attach to him, but he's like, no, we're gonna be friends. And then it successfully manages to latch with the young boy's help onto somebody, maybe a bully, maybe some, I don't know who. And then that emerges, and then a bad xenomorph emerges, and the xenomorph again tries to attack the kid, but it can't successfully, and its acid blood is just kind of lukewarm blood, and he can't do anything, and so
deficient.
And then meanwhile, a bunch of real
Daniel,
good xenomorphs.
Here, okay?
I know. I'm just saying. I know.
I'm writing this.
Yes, please. I'm just like this. This just like, and then they become friends. They bond over their shared weaknesses, and together they become stronger. So the imperfect organism finds the perfect friend.
Oh,
I know.
See?
That's what I'm saying.
At that point, I know that Disney
And then
would
two
take that
face
part.
That's the
Okay.
plot of E.T., dog.
I know. You know, you're not wrong. You're not wrong at all.
Well, E.T.'s due for a remake, right?
Right, yeah.
now that Disney owns probably both of them. No, well, anyway, it doesn't matter. Broccoli, what do you want to see from the next Alien movie?
I want Weyland-Yutani to finally get what they've wanted all along. Some of either the blood that they've been searching for, or an organism is delivered to corporate headquarters, so they can deconstruct it, find out what's in it, but it gets loose. And it's at corporate with all of the C-suite of Weyland-Yutani, and then they are forced to lock down corporate HQ a la Mayhem with Steven Yeun.
Yeah.
And so everybody starts turning into xenomorphs with the face huggers running rampant, and then they have to fight their way out.
I would watch the hell out of that.
That's awesome.
Man. Yes. Seriously. Do it. That's the grand finale. They get what they want. Laron Chapman. Top that.
I want Brock Lay's dream.
Yeah.
I second that dream. Outside of that, I'm gonna say I'd like them to close the loop on the Prometheus, that but it won't happen now with the merger. But I feel like that we can dream. We're dreaming right now. Boys can dream. So that's what I would really want. But I think that what Brock said actually seemed like a realistic thing that they could do, and maybe we can will that into existence.
Well, we just watched Deadpool and Wolverine, a movie about taking down the corporate overlords who make a thing made by the corporate overlords. So yeah, I think that's very
they take
plausible.
the shit all over the people who made bad choices, the shit all over the MCU. We got cameos from actors that never got to play roles they wanted to play.
The movie talks about how bad the corporate merger is, but then it was made by Disney.
Crazier things are happening.
you know.
We might even get the Disney Xenomorph movie, like that Daniel pitched to us. So
Wait, what about, you guys remember Xenon Girl in the 21st century?
Oh, you mean
From
Xenomorph in the
Yeah, crossover, baby. Come on. Nathan Poppe, what do you want to see?
Oh yeah, Muppets in space. meeting the Xenomorph. I mean, Disney can absolutely make that happen, but it would be fun to see this go like an animated route. I know that they do those Star Wars animated shorts. I think Alien, I would like to see different people take a crack at it. Obviously, you felt like this found a very fitting director, but there's some sickos out there that would probably have some fun with face huggers. So,
especially in the world of anime, no doubt.
I've heard there are shorts. I don't know if they're anime, but I've heard there are shorts.
There's a couple
that
short
kind of fill in
films
some stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. There's one I can think of that's live action for sure, but I don't know if they did any anime stuff.
Have you guys ever seen the one where the Xenomorph fights Batman? Have you guys seen that one? That one exists out there somewhere. Yeah. So I think that's a great pick. I think doing, I think there's actually a Terminator series coming out later this month on Netflix. I think doing that approach with Aliens is very fitting. Alien versus Predator versus Terminator, actually, now that I'm mentioning it. We never got that one. I think Disney owns all those now, right? I'm pretty sure. So, I mean, if they're going to own everything and creativity as we know it, might as well.
Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah, might as well. Yeah. But seriously, in all seriousness, I'm with Laron. I just really want them to make that third movie because I just want to reiterate, if you watch the second one, it ends on such a bleak cliffhanger where you're like, I got to see how the story plays out. I know it's not going to end well, but it's going to be interesting, right?
Yeah.
David changed his mind.
He's actually, humans are great. Yeah. I don't know what I was thinking.
The scene Forrest Gump when he stops running, everyone's like, we don't have any purpose anymore. It's like, I think I'm going to go home now.
I'm sorry, guys.
I was a real chump out there.
Well, guys, this has been
space civilizations.
This has been so much fun talking about aliens for a couple hours. Did not realize, looking at the summer, at the beginning of the summer, you told me the most fired up I'd be about any of these podcasts was an alien movie. I would have been like, yeah, maybe, but I definitely wasn't expecting to be as jazzed about this one. So I'm glad you guys were all a part of this journey as well. Nathan Poppe, I'm sorry it took so long to bring you back on the show. It's always a pleasure talking to you, my friend. Thanks for joining. Where can people follow you online?
At Nathan Poppe on most social media handles. This is always fun. I'm always at Tinseltown almost every Friday, especially during the summer. I take half days, and that is what I go do. And so it is fun to be able to share this with you.
Awesome. Well, it's a pleasure. Laron Chapman, where can people find you?
Now that I have some time finally freed up, I'm done with the sprint of all the work that I've been doing on my fun employment journey. You'll start seeing more reviews on the Cinematropolis for my film review column, Laron Chapman. It's Real Insights with Laron Chapman.
And my, ladies and gentlemen, lots of real insights, if I might add. Broccoli?
If you want to see how much fun it can be having 6 kids or need visual birth control, you can follow me on Instagram at Brockness_monster. And then you can follow me on Behance at Broccoli Design.
Awesome. And Brock, also, always a pleasure, sir. I'm really glad we got to talk aliens together.
This is my favorite thing to do. I love it.
Oh, awesome. Daniel Bokemper, the birthday man. Thanks for joining, man. On your birthday, you could have been spending time with your
my birthday
family.
Wish. I could have been, but you're my family, Caleb. And you're my family, Ron. And you're my family, Nathan. I know we haven't seen each other.
Even me?
Yeah.
Distant cousin.
And Brock.
This is the 11th Fast and Furious movie we do it, guys.
Get some Coronas, baby.
Brock's my work family, but that doesn't count. No, I at broken_dandy. You can find me on Instagram. I'm usually sharing the reviews, mostly at Flick Attack, and of course here on the Cinematropolis. I'll be writing some things in the near future, but you should also find a Cuckoo review and an Alien Romulus review on Flick Attack sometime soon. It'll be short. It'll be nice. I'll be very kind to the film.
Well, you also, listeners should check out our most recent Cuckoo review,
that's right.
As well.
Great use of flutes. Great use of flutes.
Yeah. You guys have something in common with these movies. Daniel, thanks for spending your birthday with us, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
And listeners, of course, you can follow me on all the social media planets, at C Masters Talk. That's letter C Masters Talk. I'm going to be going on a brief hiatus, probably not going to be on social media at time, but yeah, you can follow me there if I'm catching these movies. I think, was it Blink Twice? I think's coming out this weekend. I'll probably have opinions about that on like Instagram or Threads or something like that. Well, thank you so much for joining us, everyone. We'll catch you again after our end of the summer hiatus when we review Francis Ford Coppola's new movie, Megalopolis, on October 2nd. Till then, in space, no one can hear you say